Hi, welcome back, guys. This is your friend, the DN WhatIf, with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Deku Became the Celestial Lord. The recommended playback speed for this video is 1.25x. All credits for this video go to their respective authors, so please support the real author. Check out the link in the description for more details, and go to the story link to say hi to the author. Please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now, let's get into the fanfic. Izuku Midoriya. Your average 14-year-old teen who was unfortunately born without a quirk like 80% of the world's population. And yet he still aspires to become the hero he admires and dreams to be. So even though he's been told since the age of 4 he could never become a hero as he doesn't have a quirk, he still has hopes that maybe there'd be some sort of change as he got over. Which is why, after another day of getting bullied by his childhood friend, we see Midoriya visiting his local physician to check up and see if there was any recent changes. "So how have you been, Midoriya?" asked his physician. "I've been good. I mean, the school year's almost over, and I'm hoping to enroll into UA High," said Midoriya as his physician gave him a soft smile. Still determined to be. "I must admit I admire your spirit, and if I'm honest, I think it's unfair that you're not able to," said the physician before realizing the mistake they had said. "But who knows? Maybe today will be the day everything changes," said the physician, as they tried to cheer Midoriya up, as he was aware his situation was unlikely to change. But he wouldn't be coming here every year if not to see some kind of change. After waiting for about an hour, his test results came in along with a smile on his physician's face. "Congratulations, Midoriya. There's finally been an anomaly," said the physician as Midoriya began to burst in tears of pure joy for a few minutes. "Thanks, Doc. You've no idea how much I've been waiting for this day to actually happen," said Midoriya as he began to wipe his tears away. "I'm happy for you as well," said the physician as they rested a comforting hand on their shoulder. "So any idea as to what can I do? Do I have super strength like All Might? Can I teleport? Do I have an insanely crazy healing factor and fourth wall breaking skills like Wade Wilson?" asked Midoriya. "Well, here's the thing. Your ability shows you able to do some kind of summoning-like ability, to even a reanimation of such things," said the physician. "So what does that mean?" asked Midoriya. "It could mean a lot of things, really. I actually knew of a famous hero from America who was your regular Victor Frankenstein, and could give life to anything from dead, mismatched body parts to even mannequin dolls from an avant-garde art exhibit," said the physician as Midoriya was visibly creeped out. "Otherwise, I actually have a coworker here whose nephew could give plushies and stuffed animals life itself," said the physician to comfort Midoriya. "But you also said summoning?" asked Midoriya. "Yeah, well, there's only been small cases of this, involving but not limited to summoning famous baseball players from baseball cards, or doodles from your sketchbook. Thank God there's yet to be a case of like demons or anything grotesque and evil like those depicted in the Necronomicon Ex Mortis," said the physician. "If you want my advice, I say go home, tell your mother, and start experimenting things through trial and error. But please be safe about it," said the physician. "I will. And Doc, thanks again for helping me," said Midoriya. After he left the hospital, Midoriya ran home to spread the news with his mom, as they both cried in pure joy. "My baby, my boy is finally going to become the hero he always dreamed of," cried Inko as she held her son tight. "I know, Mom, I can't believe it. I finally get to become the hero I dreamt of," cried Midoriya as they continued to cry for a good minute. "I'm so happy. So what did the doctors say exactly you can do?" asked Inko. "Well, that's the thing. He's not entirely sure. But they told me it was related to like either summoning or reanimating things," said Midoriya. "I see," said Inko as she didn't know how to take it, but was glad her son now had a quirk to call his own. "Mom, is there any chance you still have some of my old toys lying around? I want to try things out," asked Midoriya. "Yeah, wait right here while I get them," said Inko. Time skip. Throughout the night, Midoriya tried tirelessly trying to either give life to all the toys he had owned previously, to even some of his own home furniture, to no result. In fact, he even tried to do it with all of his prized All Might collection, to also getting the same result. Heck, he's even tried ritualistic summoning of things from many anime and manga he has seen or read to getting nothing. Eventually giving up, Midoriya crashed on his bed and decided to hold the matter aside till he sought a professional. Rome wasn't built in a day, thought Midoriya, as he began to pull out his smartphone and decided to play a game to pass the time. The game in question was Valkyrie Crusade, a free-to-play game, with no ads required to continue on, and enjoying the game unlike most modern mobile games out there. It was part building simulator, part digital card collecting, part battling and mobbing, and it was all perfectly balanced with its own story mode to it, which is why Midoriya had played this game, this longest, this and a temple run inspired game featuring All Might. Wonder if I could actually be the Celestial Lord and actually summon these maidens, thought Midoriya with a chuckle as he began to glow a green aura-like energy around his phone. What the was all Midoriya got to say as his room erupted in a blinding flash of light. I can't see, I've gone blind, shouted Midoriya as he began to rub his eyes like crazy. Calm down, master. If anything, I'm pretty sure Chronomancer here could fix it. Or something, said the voice of a woman he's never heard, let alone met. Izuku, is everything all right? Came the voice of Inko as she came into her son's room, before letting out a startled scream. Who are you, and what have you done to my baby? Shouted Inko. Nothing, he summoned us here. And he might have done it in the middle of pyrotechnist attack, said the voice of a different girl this time. Wait, summoned? Asked Deku as his vision came back, as he saw standing before him, and his mother, his usual go-to team at the moment in Valkyrie Crusade. Oh my god, Chronomancer, pyrotechnist, skeleton, said Midoriya, as the three maidens turned to greet him. Master, how are you feeling? Are you ill? Do you need any medical attention? Asked Chronomancer, as wore a violet gothic Lolita-made dress with a short skirt and corset style mid-center, with black and white striped knee socks, dark purple hair, held in by a frilly-made headband as she carried with her a gold staff with the top being a large clock as it continued to click. I'm fine, thank you, but did you say that I summoned you all here? Asked Midoriya. Yes, also sorry for blinding you like that, said Pyrotechnist as she stuck her tongue out innocently, as she had short brown hair kept up in a red ribbon. She wore red old-fashioned Japanese commoner clothes to even the large white rope belt. Her hands were wrapped in bandage as she carried with her a large cannon over her shoulder that was still smoking. It's cool, it's just amazing. Mom, I figured out my quirk. This is so amazing, said Midoriya as his mom was less than thrilled than he was expecting. Izuku, I am happy for you, but call it me being a mother. But there's a serious issue that we have to discuss, said Inko. Sure, Mom. What's wrong? Asked Midoriya as Inko walked her way towards her son and sat next to him. I know we never had a chance to have the talk, but I think now that I know you can summon beautiful woman whenever you want, I think now's the time, said Inko as Midoriya blushed a deep shade of red. Mom, exclaimed Midoriya in embarrassment. And that's our cue to leave them alone. We'll be outside, said Skeleton as she had long blue hair held with a green skull bandana, as she wore a skin-tight rubber suit in the pattern of a skeleton, as it was zipped down enough to show her cleavage, as she wore green platform heels. And when I'm done talking to my baby, you girls are all next, said Inko as the three maidens nodded to her as they left Inko to explain to her son the birds and bees to the sun and the trees. Time skip. It was the weekend, and Midoriya had the day off to continue test the capabilities of his new quirk, which he learned to be very passive since he couldn't necessarily unsummon the maidens before him. But he could switch out and add new ones whenever he could, which was both and good and bad things since his house with his mom was small and meant at least one maiden always had to be out, which was tolerable at best. And while not entirely approving at first, Inko had changed her disposition when she learned her son had maidens that had skills that were less combative and more home ec. But now, he was curious to see what can his maidens do now that they were free to roam around. "All right, let's see what you can all do," said Midoriya, as they all stood in an abandoned lot. "With pleasure, master," said Pyrotechnist as she lifted her cannon and began to fire a few powerful fireworks into the sky. "Awesome. I think you got enough firepower on you to go up against Kaken," said Midoriya. "And who is this Kaken exactly?" asked Skeleton. "Sounds like our master here has a little girlfriend," cooed Skeleton. "What? No, Kaken is a guy. He's my friend. At least when we were kids," explained Midoriya. "I see. Well, I don't judge if you swing that way or not, master," said Skeleton with a cheeky smile. "What?" exclaimed a flabbergasted Midoriya. "Ignore her for now, master. Now if you could come a little closer," said Chronomancer as Midoriya did so as she enveloped them all in a bubble as time began to speed up as Midoriya saw things accelerating at a fast pace. Before Chronomancer ceased her ability. "I knew what I was expecting. But to actually see you manipulate time was just amazing," praised Midoriya. "Thank you, master. However, I should mention that when it comes to using my power with, say, Kronos herself, it's barely comparable," said Kronos. "I still think it's cool," said Midoriya. "Then allow me to show off my abilities," said Skeleton, as she looked at her master with a smile, before dropping it with a more serious expression. "Say, master, don't take this personally," said Skeleton, as she began to see the world with its bones exposed before she walked up and jabbed Midoriya's arm with her finger, which felt like someone had smashed a brick on his arm. "Oh," cried Midoriya as he fell to his knees and gripped his arms. "Master, you all right?" asked Pyrotechnist as she helped him back to his feet. "No," said Midoriya as a tear escaped his eye. "I'm sorry, master. But there was no better way for me to show off my abilities to you," said Skeleton apologetically. "You could have at least tried it on us first," scolded Chronomancer. "Like you or Pyrotechnist can even take a hit from me," said Skeleton. "It's fine. Just let's head on back home so we can put some ice on it. And maybe not bring this up with my mom for good measures," said Midoriya, as the three maidens nodded in agreement, as they all began to leave the vacant lot, only to run into a familiar face. "Kaken," said Midoriya, as the demolition maniac stood there with bags of groceries in his hands, as he was trying to process the speculation as to why the dead last was surrounded by three hot babes in a vacant lot. "Okay, noob, start talking. Are these girls relatives of yours or some other friends you've secretly had that just moved into town?" asked Bakugo with a straight face. "Master, is this the Kaken you've been talking about?" asked Pyrotechnist skeptically. "'Cause if so, you never mentioned he had the look or attitude of a delinquent," said Chronomancer. "Or an angry goldfish in the body of a bully," added Skeleton, as she didn't care to look down on Bakugo, as she openly insulted him. "Watch it," warned Bakugo. "Girls, please. I know he may seem unpleasant, but Kaken is a nice guy deep down. Honest," said Midoriya, trying to avoid any unnecessary confrontation. "So wait. They just called you master right now, didn't they?" asked Bakugo. Yeah they did," admitted Midoriya. "Okay, noob. Either you tell me that these girls here are like your new entourage or servants of some kind, because of some relative of yours just recently passed away naming you the sole heir. Otherwise, I can assume that you paid these girls to satisfy your weird kinks, man," said Bakugo as he looked visibly disgusted. "No, wait. I assure you it's nothing like that. Nothing like that at all," said Midoriya as he was fearing for his life. "Then start talking, noob," said Bakugo in a very serious tone. "Okay, so it's like this," said Midoriya as he was preparing to tell Kaken how his quirk finally kicked in recently. "Midoriya Onii-chan," cried the voice of a little girl, who just so happened to be Midoriya's last servant he brought out this morning to keep his mom company, while he went out testing out the capabilities of his new quirk. "Iroha, what are you doing here?" asked Midoriya. "I came here searching for you, 'cause it's time to go home," said Iroha as she had short wild blonde hair with a large purple ribbon on the right side of her head. She had on red hand, elbow, and ankle padding. She wore a short brown shorts, a black vest with gold hemmings, and very small crop top with a red bow wrapped around her neck. Midoriya, you know this squirt? Asked Bakugo. Hi, my name is Iroha, and I am Master's favorite maiden. Though he said he wanted to spend some alone time with these three right there, but promised me that when he comes home, we'll get to hang out together throughout the night, and if I behave myself, maybe I can join him while he's taking a bath, said Iroha with a smile. Upon hearing what Iroha said, and the fact she not only was a little girl, but wore clothing that screamed for perverts to attack her, was honestly too much for Bakugo, as he gently placed his groceries down and took out his smartphone. Moshi moshi keisatsu desu ka. I'd like to report a pervert here standing in front of me, began Bakugo as Midoriya's eyes popped like dinner plates as he began to panic. Girls, stop him, exclaimed Midoriya, as he was not ready to spend his life in jail and be falsely called a lolicon for the rest of his life. On it Onii-chan, axe kick, shouted Iroha as she raced towards Bakugo and ready to deliver her signature kick. And I say that because she tends to use this attack frequently in spite of always losing her footing like so. But managed to stop Bakugo from reporting Midoriya to the police before he had the chance to explain his situation. What the hell, shouted Bakugo as he had Iroha sitting on him. Sorry Onii-chan. I'm trying my hardest here to follow in my father's footsteps as a martial artist champion someday, said Iroha innocently. Listen brat, don't think I won't personally spank you just because I'm trying to get you away from that lolicon over here, said Bakugo. Seriously, I'm not a lolicon or a pervert. This is just a huge misunderstanding that you're not listening to, said Midoriya. All right, I'll give you the chance to explain yourself. But if it's something stupid, I will literally obliterate you and send you to oblivion at this moment, said Bakugo as he got Iroha off him and got back on his feet. These girls, these maidens here, they're not real. They're manifestations that I summoned or reanimated because of my quirk, said Midoriya as Bakugo glared at him and saw sparks coming out of his palms. I'm serious, dude. I mean, look, said Midoriya as he took out his smartphone and opened the gaming app and began to return Skeleton, Chronomancer, and Pyrotechnist from their world back into the game before summoning them all over again. Huh, so they finally kicked in, said Bakugo. Yeah, that's right. These maidens are all originally from this game. I've been playing casually for a while now, said Midoriya as he showed the Valkyrie Crusade game app to Bakugo. As awesome as your quirk might be, you're still a noob to me, Deku. And another thing, if you could have manifest things from gaming apps, why not from what many would argue to be a better gaming app, like Pocket Tanks or Battle Bears, or hell one of those dozens of gun apps, said Bakugo. I've already tried it. Also, I think that last suggestion of being able to manifest weapons from the gun app might be pushing it, said Midoriya, as he could only imagine the danger that puts him and others. In spite of the fact having literally infinite ammo would be awesome, as simple as that. Fair enough, said Bakugo as he picked up his groceries and was about to return home, but stopped in his tracks as he looked down on Iroha. Look kid, I know Deku being a nice guy, if not a cry-baby bitch who dreams too much, said Bakugo as Midoriya was left speechless over being rudely insulted yet again. So please, if he does something he shouldn't be doing to you, please call the police. If not, come find me, and I'll get someone to help you, said Bakugo before finally marching off back home. Sigh, I finally get to show off my friend that I've unlocked my quirk. And I get labeled as a lolicon, said Midoriya as he felt deflated. Not to mention, your friend is a real piece of work. I mean seriously, I'd be more than happy to knock him down a peg or 2 inches, said Skeleton, as something told Midoriya she meant it literally and was capable of committing to her promise. I don't think violence would be the answer to this situation, said Chronomancer. Oh no, then what? Asked Pyrotechnist. Well, if history has shown us anything, even powerful and morally bad men have been proven weak towards the sign of love in some way, and has even changed them for the better at times, said Chronomancer. Dibs not it, shouted Skeleton. I don't mean us. Though I think Master here needs to continue playing the game more, and if lucky unlocks Fenrir sooner than later, said Chronomancer. Who? Asked Midoriya. A fellow maiden like us, if not an icy whipped babe, who's more than a perfect match for that explosive orange baby friend of yours, said Skeleton. Please don't ever call Kakin that to his face, said Midoriya, as he had to admit that calling Bakugo an explosive orange baby was a dead-on accurate nickname, like a certain prince of hell who's called a spicy red baby, as he snickered a little. No promises. Now let's head back home, said Skeleton, as everyone was in agreement as Iroha had walked next to Midoriya and held his hand as they walked back home. Once there, everyone saw that Inko had prepared dinner for all of them as they sat down and began to eat, as she hid a coy smile on her face while looking at her son. What's up, Mom? Asked Midoriya. Well, I was gonna save it for after dinner, but I got a surprise for you, said Inko as she pulled out some papers for her son. I've always been hoping they'd accept you, with or without a quirk. But once I've informed the staff that your quirk had finally manifested, they said they were willing to give you chance at a trial run next week, and determined whether you're eligible to enroll there or not, said Inko as she handed her son papers for his future enrollment at UA Academy. Mom, you're the best, cried Midoriya as he began to cry a large fountain of tears out of pure joy, knowing that his mom was truly committed in fighting for his dream, in becoming the hero he was meant to be. And there you guys have it. Also, I didn't mention this early. The day had arrived for Midoriya to go and take his enrollment test to one of the school's coordinators at UA Academy. And since the night before, he's been dying with anticipation. So much so he had been gaming and prestiging more and more on Valkyrie Crusade, so he could have his game ready and by his side. All right, guys, it's almost time to head to the school, and hopefully they'll accept us, said Midoriya as he and his maidens were chilling in the middle of town, enjoying some boba tea. Relax, Master. We'll make it there on time and impress those teachers so much that they'll be the ones begging to join their school, said Skeleton, as she was drinking her pearl tea while doing the tapioca tea challenge. More so, if anything, I could always rewind time, and we can retake the challenge as many times as we like, said Chronomancer, as she was enjoying her boba tea like a normal individual while taking bites out of her pretzel. Okay, I'm less worried about us failing a whole lot less now, said Midoriya as he continued to play the game on his phone, with Iroha on his lap. Oni-chan, can you please focus on upgrading me more with a huge strength and defense arcane buff? Asked Iroha as she drank her milk tea. I'm actually trying to play it safe since you've yet to get a rebirth feature yet in any of the updates. Plus, we're almost reaching towards your maxed level, said Midoriya as Iroha pouted, but didn't complain. More so, I believe Master here should focus on upgrading the rest of us here. Mainly me, said Pyrotechnist as she tossed over her boba tea overhand and nailed it in the trash can perfectly. If anything, I think we should actually hurry up and leave, 'cause now I'm starting to get bugged about getting ogled at like a piece of a meat, said Skeleton as she and everyone was aware that since they sat down, people have been staring at them. While it was more than obvious the girls were getting admired, and could even hear some of the guys debating whether to have the nerve to ask them out, while also cursing Midoriya for having 4 beautiful, if not cute women around him to himself. Who the hell does he think that guy is? A scrub like him has to be a nobody at best, seriously. What the hell did he do to get something like having his own harem without trying? But isn't one of them a little girl happily sitting on his lap? I'm so jealous. Lolican men are nothing but scum and womanizers who want to just get in our pants. Those are but all a handful of words that has been said directly toward Midoriya. And frankly, up until now, he saw no real downside to his quirk. Master, are you sure you don't want me to blast them off to the moon? Asked Pyrotechnist. Yes, I'm sure. So please don't take out your cannon, said Midoriya. Come on, let's go, said Skeleton as everyone got up and began to swim past the crowd of onlookers and finally set foot towards UA Academy. At least that was the plan, since about 2 blocks away from the busy streets, the group heard a loud explosion. What was that, said Chronomancer, as the group looked back and saw the rising smoke into the sky. I say we should go back. There might be people who are in trouble and are in need of help, said Skeleton. I agree. But we should wait and hear out our master as to what we should do, said Pyrotechnist, as all eyes fell on Midoriya, who took a moment to think about it. We're going back. But let's hurry in case more people get hurt before a pro arrives, said Midoriya, as the group began to rush back to see what was the cause of the explosion. It was a bank robbery gone wrong, as people began to rush out as 2 people stood close towards the front entrance, while another 3 stood in the back with their guns pointed at some captive civilians. Everyone back the F off. This does not have to get violent. So long as the cops don't show to do something stupid, shouted one of the crooks, as they began to fire a few rounds into the sky. All right. They seem highly unorganized and seem to be winging it at this point, said Chronomancer. Let's go in there and kick their butts, shouted Iroha, as she was ready to run in head first, but was pulled back by Midoriya. Let's not and think this through, said Midoriya, as he heard sirens wailing from a distance. Eventually the police had arrived and pulled up to the scene as 4 cops got out of their vehicles and began to take a stand. Surrender now, you are surrounded. This doesn't have to end bad for any of us, said one of the cops speaking through a speaker. Like hell it doesn't have to, came the voice of a woman with dirty purple dreads and beaming gray eyes as she stood off towards the ledge of the roof where the explosion was made, as she had the capital letter E backwards and tattooed on the left side of her cheek. Madam, I assure you that if you were to drop your weapons and come out peacefully with your arms up, you will not be harmed, said the cop from earlier. You see, that's where you have things backwards. Either you hightail it out of here now, or you can forget about going home in one piece, said the woman as her goons began to cheer for her for standing up to them. This is your last warning. Either surrender now, or we will have to use force, said the cop as his fellow officers had already begun to send message for immediate backup, and having a pro-hero wait on standby. Do your worst, shouted the woman as she began to tear the sleeves off her sweater, before sticking both of her palms out as a shockwave was shot and sent not only the cops, but their vehicles flying. Seeing this up close definitely instilled fear into Midoriya, but also a new sense of determination to stop these guys, and his team of maidens were ready to fight. Let's go everyone, said Midoriya as they began to approach the scene head-on, without showing any fear. If you guys know what's good for you, you will all run away, shouted the woman on the roof as Pyrotechnist lifted her cannon and fired at her, causing the woman to lift her hands up to deflect the blast from killing her. But the force still sent her flying back onto the first floor as she crashed and laid passed out on the floor. Okay, you guys are dead now, said the first goon from earlier as he and his buddy lifted their guns and began to shoot at the group. While Midoriya couldn't help but flinch and lift his arms up and closed his eyes expecting for the worst, Chronomancer stepped in and slowed down time as the bullets continued to fire towards their direction. Fear not, master. I shall not allow any harm befall you, said Chronomancer with a smile of confidence, as waved her time staff to literally knock the bullets onto the ground. Shit. We may be in over our heads, said a different goon as they looked back towards one of the hostages and began to lift them up, before pressing their gun towards their head. One more step from any of you, and the hostages get it, said the goon as the citizens began to scream in terror as they stood in there in place. Chronomancer, any chance you could freeze time for us, asked Midoriya. If I knew how, master. I'm only able to accelerate and reverse time back for a certain number of hours, or even slow it down. The only one with that type of power would be Chronos herself, said Chronomancer. Hey master, here's an idea. Why not summon a different maiden who can hit multiple targets at once, said Skeleton, as she was really hating how they were put in tough spot and are powerless to do anything to help the situation. Good idea, said Midoriya as he felt newfound confidence as he pulled out his phone and began to select the perfect maiden for the situation. Summoning before the group in a beam of light was a beautiful woman with long green hair and blue eyes, as she had a green rose adorned on the left side of her head, as she wore green with gold trimming stockings, white short shorts, green forearm-length leather gloves, a green corset top with a matching green, no-sleeved duster as she held 2 revolvers in her hands. "Master, I didn't expect you to summon me any time soon," said the maiden with a charming smile. "Isabel, think you can help us in rescuing the hostages without killing anyone?" asked Midoriya. "Well, I'm not just a crack shot with a pretty face for nothing," said Isabel, as she sent a wink and blew a kiss at Midoriya before lifting her guns towards the goons who were in a daze over how Midoriya literally summoned a hot babe before their eyes. Within a second, Isabel had fired 6 shots total, as the goons soon found themselves falling to the ground, either gripping their bleeding hands because they're now missing their trigger fingers, or the one poor sap who got 1 bullet in the elbow and another one in the thigh because they decided to take the hostage as a human meat shield. "Well, wasn't that simple and clean?" said Isabel, as she revolved her revolvers before holstering them away. Making their way around the fallen goons, Midoriya and his fellow maidens assisted the hostages out the bank safely, just as the police and paramedics arrived on the scene. "You did a good job back there, but I hope you know what you did was reckless and dangerous," said one of the cops. "I know, but I couldn't just stand there and do nothing and wait for backup to arrive," said Midoriya, as he felt no shame as to what he had accomplished today. "Well, if that's how you feel, then keep up with that attitude of yours. I'm sure you and your maidens will become great heroes someday," said the cop, as they began to drag away the woman with the E tattoo on her cheek. "You think this is over? Just you wait. My friends will get me out of here," shouted the woman, as they were pushing her away in the back of the police van, wearing heavy-duty cuffs that covered her arms. "And you are on my shit list. Meaning you're on all of my friends' shit list, you hear me? The Edas will hunt you, and those group of bitches with you down, and will make you suffer," shouted the woman for the last time before they finally got her in and shut the door on her. "Don't worry about her. You've got nothing to worry about," said a cop reassuringly. "If you say so," said Midoriya. "We do. Especially if she's part of those small group of thugs, such as the Edas, though something tells me after today, we won't be going as easy on them anymore, and in time they'll cease to exist," said the cop. "Now get along, son. We got things from here," said the cop, but was pulled aside with his fellow officer whispered something in his ear. "What, seriously?" asked the cop as his partner nodded in reassurance, before looking at Midoriya as he stood there patiently. "Is everything all right?" asked Midoriya. "Everything will be fine, though I was just informed to tell you to go to this address immediately," said the cop. "Oh, but you see, I've actually got to head to Yua Academy to take my initiation test," said Midoriya. "Trust me, son. Something tells me that this is far more important," said the officer with a smile. Later, being told to head towards wait at the top of a tall building, Midoriya and his maidens waited together, patiently wondering why they were told to be here and miss Midoriya's scheduled initiation. "This had better be good. I mean, honestly, this is a huge inconvenience to us. Especially you, Master," said Skeleton. "I know. But there has to be a good reason as to why we were told to wait up here," said Midoriya optimistically, as a part of him can't deny the fact he is screwing his chances of enrolling at his dream academy with hopes of meeting All Might. "Whatever. If this truly does turn out to be a waste of time, I can always rewind us back to after we've parted ways from the police," said Chronomancer. "I assure you all, that won't be necessary," came the mighty booming voice of the #1 hero of the world, as his smile burns a newfound resolve to those in the face of fear and evil, and pride to not only the heroes of tomorrow, but the ones he fights besides today. "I've seen what you've done, my boy, and while I should say what you say was rather irresponsible, I can't deny the courage you had when facing danger when it was in front of you and took control of the situation. With no casualties, I should add," said All Might. "All Might? It's really you, All Might," said Midoriya as he was left speechless, as this marked the second best day of his life so far. "That's right, it's me, All Might," shouted All Might as he began to flex. Is this the guy you have a guy crush on? Asked Skeleton towards Midoriya, who didn't answer, because he was still in awe standing and talking with his hero. Hey, you're the man that Midoriya Onii-chan has toys, blankets and posters of back at home, said Iroha as he pointed at All Might. You're even a fan of me. Well, don't I feel flattered now, said All Might with a hearty laugh as he began to approach Midoriya. Tell me, my boy, what's your name? Asked All Might as Midoriya finally snapped out of his fanboy stupor. My name? Right, yes, my name. My name is Izuku Midoriya, sir. And can I just say you're like my favorite hero of all time? I mean, you're the greatest hero of all time, said Midoriya. Why, thanks, my boy. Though now that you mentioned your name is Midoriya, it could only mean you were the student I was supposed to meet to give your pre-initiation test later on today, said All Might. You were the one who was going to test me today, asked Midoriya, as his voice squeaked a little at the realization that no matter what he was going to meet All Might in person before the day ends. That's right. Thought after your display today, I've decided that your actions are more than enough to qualify you to be a proud student at UA Academy. What do you say, my boy? Said All Might. This is the most happiest day of my life, cried Midoriya, as he couldn't help but erupt into a fountain of tears before his hero, knowing he not only got a quirk to be proud of, but even got to meet his hero and impress him enough that he wants him to enroll in UA Academy by next spring. It's the most happiest day of your life so far. Why don't you come join me and your friends here for a private gathering for dinner tonight at the rooftop of an associate of mine, said All Might. I'd be honored, sir, sobbed Midoriya, as he was going to be a blubbering mess for a while. Then I'll see you there in a few hours. Here's the address. And please feel free to bring your friends with you, said All Might before he jumped off the building and made off, leaving Midoriya to compose himself. Time skip. After informing his mom the good news and his plans for the evening, Midoriya and his maidens made it towards the reservation that All Might had gave them, as he had prepared them all an all-American BBQ dinner. Got to admit, All Might, if our master here decides to own up and ask you to be his significant other, I say go for it, if it means we get to eat good food like this every day, said Skeleton as she sat on the table while taking bites out of her burger. I'm sorry, but the boy here is way too young for me. Plus, I don't swing that way, said All Might as he set more patties on the plate. Also, Miss Skeleton, I should point out that some of the food you're eating is falling in a rather noticeable spot, if I might be bold to point out, said All Might as Skeleton looked down to see a bit of burger wedged in her cleavage, before picking it and flicking it back in her mouth without a care. Really, sir, thank you for doing this for us. Though I kind of feel like I'm getting treated here way better than most people, said Midoriya as he rubbed the back of his head. Nonsense, my boy. I always do this to those whom I see as promising new heroes of tomorrow. And you, my boy, are definitely filled with the makings of greatness, said All Might as his all-present smile felt more genuine when he said, Anyways, sit tight while I go back inside and grab some more food, said All Might as he went inside the building and walked down the hall to grab some more food, as a familiar face waited for him leaning against the wall. Sir Nightai, you should really join us, my old friend. After all, you were kind enough to let us rent out the outdoor patio last minute, said All Might. As kind as you are to offer, and the fact your words hold merit, I feel it's better if I sit this one out, and not spoil the boy's moment of adulation, said Sir Nightai, as he readjusted his glasses. The why linger around and wait here? Asked All Might. You know exactly why. So please refrain from playing the naive fool, as it is rather insulting, and even demeaning of you, said Sir Nightai. All right then. So tell me, what do you see in the boy's future? Asked All Might as Sir Nightai stared at his mentor and friend for a minute before letting out a sigh. I can assure you that this boy's maidens are definitely going to be a powerhouse this world has never seen before. However, as for the boy himself, he's rather powerless alone, said Sir Nightai. You don't say, said All Might as he began to rub under his chin. Please, sir, and I do mean this out of goodwill for not only you, but for the future heroes of tomorrow. that you should not waste your gift by making this boy your successor. As I've already mentioned that I have selected the perfect candidate, said Sir Nightai. Ha ha ha. Yes, I will admit that young Tagata boy definitely has the makings of becoming an even greater hero, and has the spirit of willing to die for the sake of protecting the lives of the innocent. But still the willingness to give your life for the greater good, as to living your life after dealing with the greatest loss are two different things. And frankly speaking, the ball falls in between both boys' court at this point, said All Might. Very well, sir. It is your choice at the end of the day, and I will gladly accept and support your decision 100% of the way when the time comes, said Sir Nightai. Glad to hear. But know this, my friend, that your input does matter to me, said All Might as Sir Nightai smiled in satisfaction. Now you're sure you don't want to join us for some burgers and weenies, asked All Might. I'm sure. Besides, I'm pretty sure the Gothic Lolita one is aware of me, and I can't feel like she wants my attention, said Sir Nightai. Very well then, said All Might as he went back carrying the food, and to see that Midoriya and his maidens are definitely able to get along and have respect for each other, since he has since countless times of master, using their servants as nothing more than tools instead of individuals. Who's hungry for more? Shouted All Might as everyone cheered over having a kick-ass dinner to an already kick-ass day. But like All Might said, this was only the start. The day had finally arrived. Midoriya had got up early, put on his school uniform, had a good breakfast before finally trekking towards UA Academy with Iroha by his side, as he sent the rest of his maidens away. Reason as to why he chose to keep Iroha out at this point was for the sake of not getting leered or talked about things that weren't true. 'Cause at least with Iroha being around him, people would look and think they were siblings. And you know what, it worked like a charm, as many people commented how they thought it was cute seeing Midoriya escorting Iroha to school, even as they both walked towards the front gates of UA. We're finally here, Midoriya said out loud as they stood in front of the school, as he could just burst into tears of joy, knowing he did made it to his dream school and was going to be the hero of tomorrow. I know, right? Don't you feel awesome? Came the voice of a girl who was standing next to Midoriya and Iroha. Yeah, said Midoriya awkwardly. So you think we'll get to see All Might? Asked the girl. Oh, well, you see, I kinda already met him already during my pre-entry exam, said Midoriya. Wait, seriously? That is so awesome, you so gotta tell me about? Oh, how silly of me. You don't even know my name? Or your name now that I think about it. Anyways, my name is Ochako Uraraka, said Ochako. Oh, hi. My name is Izuku Midoriya, and this here is Iroha, said Midoriya as he introduced Iroha, his summoned maiden. Oh, is she your little sister? 'Cause I think it's actually cute for guys who like to take their younger siblings to school. Though I'm not sure UA even offers elementary students, said Ochako. Oh, well, you see, Iroha is actually, began Midoriya as he wanted to explain his situation, before Iroha excitingly stepped in to explain herself. I'm actually a maid who serves master, and I'm regarded as his favorite. And since he can't wander around without one of us by his side, it only makes sense that he chooses me out of all the other maidens he has lined up on his phone, said Iroha. Needless to say, Ochako was speechless as she began to slowly back away and pulled out her phone. Moshi moshi keisatsu desuka, said Ochako. Wait, it's seriously not what it looks like, shouted Midoriya as he got Ochako to jump back a little. Look, I'm not that type of guy, like at all, and I'll prove it, said Midoriya as he chose to summon Isabelle from his phone. Hey master, what's the problem this time? Said Isabelle with a smile. Proving my innocence again, said Midoriya as Isabelle nodded her head in an understanding gesture. So wait, you're saying that these two girls are part of your quirk? Asked Ochako. Yes they are, said an exasperated Midoriya. Oh, well, sorry for jumping the gun there, said Ochako. It's fine, I'm kinda used to it by now, sighed Midoriya as Iroha and Isabelle clung to him and nuzzled against their master with sympathy. Come on, master. We better hurry up and get to class already, said Iroha as the trio began to continue the walk to school. It's good to meet you, Ochako, said Midoriya, leaving the young teenage girl feeling jelly for some reason. Time skip. Once he had changed into his costume, Midoriya had joined the rest of his fellow classmates into the training area where they'll be graded for their initiation. Their initiation test was very easy. All they got to do is destroy some machines that'll plague the city, and based on how many of them they destroy, along with which type, they'll earn points, and the higher the points, the better. "You ready to go, Iroha?" asked Midoriya as they proceeded to join the other students, as they patiently waited to test their might as the future heroes of tomorrow. "I'm ready, Midoriya Onii-chan," said Iroha cheerfully as she spotted a familiar face. "Kaken," said Iroha as she ran up towards the demolition nut, as he too changed into his costume. "Hey Squirt, how you doing?" said Bakugo as he went, and tousled her hair as Iroha giggled in delight. "I'm doing good. Me and Midoriya Onii-chan are ready to be heroes," said Iroha in a cheerful tone. "I can tell," said Bakugo as he averted his stare towards Midoriya with a frown. "Deku, you noob, get your ass over here," yelled Bakugo as this startled a few students who were close to him. "Yeah," said Midoriya nervously as he approached his explosive orange baby friend. Once he was close enough, Bakugo proceeded to headlock Midoriya as he brought his head close to his mouth. "All right, noob. I'm going to allow Iroha here to continue calling me Kaken cause of how sincere she is. So if I hear your maidens call me that, I'm going to blast your ass to the moon," threatened Bakugo. "Sure, I promise," said Midoriya as he knew that the maidens already had the perfect pet name for him. "All right then, also one more thing, noob. Do not screw this up. You're here with a kid to be a hero, and whoever else you choose to summon. So I expect you to kick some ass," said Bakugo, as this was the first time in years Midoriya heard something encouraging from him in many years. "Now get the hell away from me, noob, before you start cramping my style," said Bakugo. "Yeah, thanks man, come on Iroha," said Midoriya with Iroha behind. "Good luck, Kaken," said Iroha, as she waved Bakugo goodbye before Midoriya set off to summon the maidens perfect for the job, which included Isabelle, Pyrotechnist, Skeleton, and a new maiden to really fit the vibe that was going on. Standing tall, while striking a cliché Sentai warrior pose, or Power Ranger pose for those who don't know, was a teenage girl with long pink hair kept in ponytail that reached down her hips, with pink eyes as she wore a grass green, short skirt, combat dress as she wore a high-tech belt, arm guard monitor, and carried with her in her hands a device that activates her abilities as the wind perfectly blew her hair and dark green scarf over her right shoulder. "Valkyrie Hero, reporting for duty master," said Valkyrie Hero as she continued to make poses as this got everyone's attention. "I'm combat ready," said Valkyrie Hero with a proud heroic smile that got All Might's respect. "Glad to hear that. Now everyone get ready cause we got only one job. Destroy all the enemy robots," said Midoriya. "Yeah," shouted the maidens in unison. "Boys and girls, get ready to dig it, cause it's time to party," shouted Present Mike as any hype the students had built up went from 10 to 11 as the machines started coming in drones. "Go," shouted Midoriya as she ran close to Iroha and Valkyrie Hero as they charged the first machine that crossed their path. "Axe kick Valkyrie attack," shouted Iroha and Valkyrie Hero as their combined attack was enough to destroy the machine. And that was before keeping in mind how Deku had the rest of his maidens racking up points, which speaking of. "Ha, that's another kill for us and our master," said Pyrotechnist with a hearty laugh. "Yeah, that makes what, 10? And how many for you now, Bakugo?" said Skeleton tauntingly as she pulled her fist outside of a machine. 8. "But who cares," said Bakugo dismissively, as he really hated the attitude of these maidens. "What's wrong upset how besides not being the only person with explosive powers, that you actually suck at racking up kills," said Pyrotechnist. "You're really pushing it," said Bakugo as he glared at Pyrotechnist. "Come on, Pyrotechnist. Let's go somewhere else and leave the explosive orange baby alone before he throws a tantrum," said Skeleton with a smug smile. "Gah, I'm an explosive orange adult, and I'll show you bitches that by killing these damn machines," yelled Bakugo as he flew over to destroy more of the robots that plagued this fake city. Elsewhere, we see Isabel keeping her composure, aiding the fellow students in destroying the machines. "Wow, this is the most fun I've had since Master had me tangled against that arch witch a few months back," said Isabel, as she pointed her gun adjacent towards her right hand before pulling the trigger as the recoil caused her to unintentionally smack a familiar four-eyed speedster, while the ricochet landed the killing blow on one more machine. "Careful when pointing that weapon of yours. You could seriously hurt someone with that if you continue to show off," nagged Tenya as Isabel stuck her tongue out towards him. "Not my fault you decided to blindly run next to me like that. You smart Alec," said Isabel. "Now see here," said Tanya. "No, like seriously. Before you even think about scolding me or others, take this as a learning lesson to not run towards danger expecting others to be mindful of you. And reflect on that," said Isabel as she left Tenya speechless as her words had merit as he stood there and trembled. Yup, things were going great until the big machine worth Jack stepped into the field, causing everyone to panic. "Oh, you have got to be kidding me," said Midoriya with his eyes were as wide as dinner saucers. "Master, I think now is a good time to retreat," said Valkyrie Hero as she turned to take Midoriya's hand, as they both towards far away from where they were at with Iroha, not too far behind. As the machine swung its hands to demolish a building, whilst many of the students were panicking and running for their lives, only one person got caught under the raining debris. "It's her. That girl back at the front gates," exclaimed Midoriya with concern as he saw that Ochako had collapsed in the midst of the chaos. Being the first one to react, Iroha ran back to help Ochako, as Midoriya felt more concern about the situation that he already was. "One-chan, are you all right?" asked Iroha. "Look out," said Ochako as she hid Iroha under her as the machine creeped its hands towards the girls. Not wasting any time, Midoriya ran head first towards the danger as he swapped out Valkyrie Hero for Chronomancer. "Chronomancer, hurry and slow down time," said Midoriya as he continued to run off towards Iroha and Ochako. "Staff of Time," exclaimed Chronomancer as time slowed down for the machine, giving Midoriya the chance to get the girls out of harm's way. "Come on, we gotta go," said Midoriya as he shook Ochako from keeping her head down, before she and Iroha followed Midoriya back towards a safe distance. "Master, I can't hold on much longer," said Chronomancer as her voice was beginning to strain. "Izuku, please tell me you got a maiden strong enough to stop that thing," asked Ochako, as Midoriya blushed a little since she referred to him by his first name. Truth be told, Midoriya had at least a few powerful maidens in his arsenal. However, it meant having to retire at least 4 of his maidens just to bring her out. And frankly speaking, he could use more helping hands than less. "Ah!" yelled Bakugo as he came from out of nowhere and decided to destroy the machine that was in their way with everything he had. With the last of its servo joints collapsing, the alarm blared, letting the students know that their initiation was over. "Kaken, you saved us," said Midoriya with a smile, only for him to get greeted back Bakugo's fist as he fell back. "Master/Izuku/Onii-chan," said the girls that surrounded Midoriya as they sat him up. "Ouch! What did I do?" asked Midoriya innocently as Bakugo glared down at him. "That's for being a chicken shit for letting Iroha putting herself in danger before you decided to act Deku," said Bakugo. "I thought I made it clear to don't do anything I wouldn't do to Iroha. But there you were, letting her risk her life before you can act. Honestly, man, you cried about being a hero since we were kids. And now the time came and you acted like a total noob," said Bakugo. "Kaken, I'm sorry," said Midoriya as he lowered his head in shame. "Don't apologize to me, Deku. Apologize to Iroha. And quit acting like a noob who needs my help to rescue your dumbass." "Jerk," said Bakugo as he began to walk away from the group. "Master, are you okay?" asked Chronomancer. I'll be fine. But Kaken was right. I shouldn't have let you put yourself in danger, Iroha," said Midoriya as he turned to face Iroha. I forgive you, Midoriya Onii-chan, said Iroha as she kissed him on the cheek, as a sign that everything was right as rain. Ochako, said Midoriya, as he got the girl he was meant to save to face him. I'm sorry for not reacting first, said Midoriya, as he felt he ruined any chances he had to get a girlfriend. That is a girl who is a friend, who may or may not be more in the future. Hey, you at least came back to save us both. And in my book, that counts for something, said Ochako, as Midoriya didn't expect her to forgive him with a smile. Come on, let's head back and see how we did, said Ochako, as the group returned to hear their evaluation. Later, because of his actions, Midoriya was able to make himself the #1 student amongst the first years in Yua Academy, for not only the points he and his maidens gathered, but also for saving a fellow student in the risk of danger. So to say he felt content and ready for anything that may come his way would be selling it short, as things back home in the Midoriya residence was lively. My baby boy not only got his quirks and met his hero All Might, but he's the top student amongst his peers, cried Inko, as she couldn't be more prouder of her son. Thanks, Mom. I told you I plan to be the greatest hero one day. And I will become just that, said Midoriya, as their moment was cut short when they heard a knock on the door. Who could that be? Asked Inko out loud as Iroha ran to get the door. Kaken, said Iroha, as the Midoriya residents came to greet the Bomberman. Kaken, what a pleasant surprise. It's been so long, said Inko. Hey, Miss Midoriya. Deku, said Bakugo, as Midoriya was half expecting to get another lecture from him. Listen, noob. I came to give you this letter of apology, required by the school, and my mom told me to bring this, said Bakugo, as he handed both the letter and a small cake. Kaken, said Midoriya, as he felt oddly touched, knowing that maybe things can go back to normal in regards to their friendship. So yeah, I did my part. I'm going home. See you tomorrow, said Bakugo as he was ready to leave, but stopped when Iroha pulled on his arm. Kaken, stay with us for some cake, said Iroha. Yes, please won't you join us, said Inko as Bakugo felt pressured. Yeah, come on man, join us, said Midoriya as Bakugo let out a sigh. All right, pardon my intrusion, said Bakugo as Iroha and Inko walked ahead as Bakugo punched Midoriya in the arm. Oh, said Midoriya. I was expecting you to bail me out back there. Noob, said Bakugo as he entered inside with a smile on his face, making Midoriya smile, knowing that everything was going to be fine. Or so he thought. Not far from where our heroes were celebrating, we see two young adults. Both were women, one with blue skin as she was peeking through some binoculars, as she had the Eda symbol on her right eye, while the other had short wavy blonde hair as she wore gym attire with her Eda symbol on her left knuckle. We found him, that punk who got our girl Soundwave locked away, said the woman with Eda symbol on her right eye. Yeah, if it wasn't for me and Needles, they would have definitely locked her away, said the other woman. So how do you want to do it? Should we nab them now? Asked the other woman. No, that punk and his mom may be weak, but their guest is quite formidable, while the little girl reminds to be a wild card, said the first woman. How so? Asked the other woman. It's hard to put it in words, but for now let's retreat and tell our boss what's up. He'll be interested to hear this, said the first woman. The first day of school. Definitely the most adrenaline-filled day of school for anyone, including Midoriya, as he was outside putting his shoes on next to Iroha. Izuku, you got you lunch? Asked Inko. In my bag, Mom, said Midoriya. Do you remember to pack Iroha's lunch as well? It's sitting on top of mine. Do you got your phone ready, along with that portable battery charger? Asked Inko. Right here in my jacket pocket. And my phone is good to go, said Midoriya. Do you got your handkerchief on you? Asked Inko. I got it, Mom. Now I gotta go before I'm late for my first day of school, said Midoriya. Izuku. Yes, Mom, asked Midoriya as he was starting to get frustrated. Have a good day at work, son. I'm proud of you, said Inko. Thanks, Mom. I'll see you later. Come on, Iroha, said Midoriya as the pair rushed out the front door and made the journey to school. After the journey to and from school, Midoriya and Iroha finally walked through the hallways of the place they'll be attending for the next 3 years to become the heroes of tomorrow. Eventually, finding their classroom and realizing how big the door was, Midoriya took a moment to take a deep breath as Iroha held his hand. "Ready to go?" Iroha asked Midoriya. "Yes," Iroha stated happily as Midoriya opened the door and took in the faces of the people whom he'll be calling his classmates for the next 3 years. "Bakugo, take your feet off that desk this instant. It's seriously rude and unprofessional," nagged Tenya. "Whatever, Four Eyes," scoffed Bakugo dismissively. "Kakin!" exclaimed Iroha as she ran towards where Bakugo was to greet him first thing. "Oh, hey Squirt. What's up?" asked Bakugo as he tousled Iroha's hair. "It's the first day of school and Midoriya, Onii-chan and I are excited," said Iroha. "I can tell. Deku, you noob. Get your ass in here already," yelled Bakugo. "That is no way to be talking towards your fellow classmate. Much less in front of a child," said Tenya. "Get real already," yelled Bakugo as he and Tenya began to exchange barbed words. "So hey, aren't you that guy who can summon a bunch of girls at once?" asked a red-haired male student. "Yeah, talk about getting lucky with such an awesome quirk," said a short-haired student with a purple ball-shaped mohawk. "I'm quite curious to know if you can," began speaking a male student with a hoity-toity atmosphere, but was interrupted by a pink-skinned girl. "So what kind of girls can you summon? And how many can you summon at a time?" she asked. Said Midoriya as he was tongue-tied, not expecting to be bombarded with so many questions at once, as he slowly backed away, only for someone to bump into him. "Morning," Izuku greeted Ochako. "Ochako, hey," greeted a startled Midoriya. "Wow, class hasn't started already. And yet it's already lively," said Ochako. "Yeah, it is," said Midoriya. "Ochako-1-chan," shouted Iroha happily as she ran to greet her. "Iroha, so good to see you this morning," said Ochako as she held Iroha's hands, and just enjoying the vibe the class was having for the moment. "Hey, mind stepping aside," came a very dowered voice, as the students near the door turned their heads to see that someone had evolved into the next step of human evolution, and became one with his Iron Maiden sleeping bag. "If you kids are going to be standing around expecting to sing Kumbaya, I'd start finding a different school to attend," said the man with a deadpan tone with eyes to match. "Who the hell is this guy?" thought everyone as he began to get out of his sleeping bag and finish his packet of pocket yogurt before entering the classroom. "Right, everyone to your seats," said the man as those standing rushed to their seats, with Midoriya having Iroha sit on his lap. "My name is Aizawa. I'll be your kids' homeroom teacher for the next 3 years here at UI Academy. Now I know this is sudden, but hurry up and change into these and meet me out on the field," said Aizawa as he pulled out the school standard uniform for Feist. Once everyone had changed, they all met up outside waiting with bated breath over what their homeroom teacher had in store. "Okay, so if we can avoid any questions, it'll make explaining things easier. So here at UI Academy, we're not your average school. While we expect and are obligated to ensure you kids get an education, there's no denying the fact you were all lucky to attend here to become the heroes of tomorrow. And that's what we aim to do," said Aizawa. "Bakugo, step forward. And I want you to shot put this ball as hard as you can," said Aizawa as Bakugo did so without question or hesitation. "Now I want you to that again. But this time try incorporating your quirk into the mix," said Aizawa as Bakugo did so, and saw how night and day it was incorporating his quirk to doing something as simple as this made his throw even greater. As you can see, the results are truly drastically different. So from here on, I want you all to incorporate the power of your quirk to the best of your abilities. "Also," said Aizawa as the atmosphere suddenly felt chillier, "anyone who comes out with the lowest score, expect to be expelled from continuing to attending here," said Aizawa as everyone paled upon hearing the news. Later, it didn't matter what Midoriya could do. His maidens don't actually help him in a direct means, and since he was required to do all of these physical tests, Here, on a personal and direct level, he was Saul from the start. So to no one's surprise, the moment they saw his name on the board as the dead last, everyone was ready to say goodbye to him, as Midoriya was begrudgingly coming to terms with it. Students, I want you all to understand something. Even though the game may feel rigged from the start, I need to ask you all something. Did you or did you not give it 100%? Asked Aizawa as he looked at Midoriya. Midoriya, did you give it your all? No matter what? Asked Aizawa. I did, sir. I can confidently tell you that without hesitation, said Midoriya. That's what I like to hear. How about from the rest of you? Asked Aizawa, as everyone responded in their own way with confidence. Good, cause from here on out, I expect nothing less than a 100% from all of you, be it with your abilities, or with your resolve as the future heroes of tomorrow. Cause starting tomorrow, I expect all of you, including you Midoriya, to give not only me, but the school your all, said Aizawa. But sir, what about my expulsion? Asked Midoriya. Yeah, that was a lie, said Aizawa casually, as this left his students dumbfounded. But why, sir? Why would you deceive us with such a cruel punishment? Asked Tenya. Because otherwise I couldn't motivate you all from giving it your all, through and through, said Aizawa, as his words did have merit. Now, head back to class. I'll be handing you all your schedules and assignment for the day. Except for you, Midoriya. I'd like to talk to you for a minute, said Aizawa. Yes, sir, asked Midoriya. Look, I get that your quirk helps you in an indirect means, but so do a lot of students who attend here, past or present. And while I'm not asking you to punch a giant machine in the face with one punch, I expect you to not only train your quirk, but also yourself, said Aizawa. Are we at an understanding? Asked Aizawa. Yes, sir, said Midoriya, as Iroha still remained by his side. One more thing, this child that you summoned, is there by any means for you to unsummon her? Asked Aizawa. At the moment, it's not possible. However, even if there was a way, I couldn't send Iroha away from my side, sir, said Midoriya. All right then, I'll put in an order for another desk and chair for her tomorrow morning. With that being said, I expect you to behave yourself and study like your fellow students, miss, said Aizawa. Iroha, responded Iroha. Iroha, if you can do that for me, and make sure Midoriya does his studies, you're more than welcome to attend classes with him, said Aizawa. Yes, sir, said Iroha with a cheerful smile. Atta girl. All right, get back in class, you 2 inches, said Aizawa as he saw his students off and began to head towards the opposite direction. You can come out now, he's gone, said Aizawa as All Might came out of his hiding spot. Mr. Aizawa, it's good to see you again, sir, said All Might. So any particular reason you were lurking around the corner? Perhaps it may have something to do with that boy Midoriya, asked Aizawa. You know school policy. We're not to show favoritism towards our students. I will say, though, you know how to get your students going, in spite of how intimidating your methods are, said All Might. Be that as it may, I want to bring out their potential by any means necessary. However, that doesn't mean I won't do my job as instructor, said Aizawa. Now, if you don't mind, I got a class to look out for, said Aizawa, leaving All Might to himself. The next day, after an unorthodox first day of school, everyone in Class 1A were ready for anything whatever the school had to throw their way. Unless it was to be instructed, All Might, sense of their inner fan, might have distracted them a little. Okay, students, today is the day that you will finally train to be real heroes. As we go through with your official first day of training to be heroes, today we'll be dividing you all in groups of 2 through random selection, where you kids will play either the role as either the hero or villain, began All Might. Your goals are simple. The heroes need to infiltrate the building and secure the bomb that villains will be guarding, and securing the bomb until time runs out, explained All Might. Now, I think that's enough for instructions. Let's get down to business, students, as All Might drew the lots for the first students to be participating today. Our starting heroes will be Midoriya and Uraraka, while our villains will be Bakugo and Tenya, said All Might as the 4 students looked at each other with wide eyes, since they're all practically friends at this point. Well, 3 good friends with an explosive orange baby. Deku. I'm only gonna say this one time, noob. I will not hold back. Not on you. Not on Iroha. So let's get that straight here. So unless you don't want to see the squirt get hurt, I suggest swapping her for some of those other maidens whom I've been meaning to beat the crap out of, said Bakugo. I understand. However, if you really have no qualms telling me not to have Iroha out here by my side, then you shouldn't have a problem telling her directly, said Midoriya as Bakugo sneered at him. All right then, listen Squirt, you understand right, that I'm going to give it my all, and there's a chance you're gonna get hurt. So if you want to sit this out, without leaving this noob here with a major disadvantage, now's the chance to go home, said Bakugo. If Midoriya Onii-chan is going to stay and fight you, then I'll stay to fight you too, Kaken, said Iroha. Fine, whatever. It's not like I'm gonna be done kicking Deku's ass when this is done, said Bakugo. Wait, what? Exclaimed Midoriya, as he felt he wasn't kidding on that last part, but couldn't ponder any further since Ochako shook him to reality. I think now would be a good time to summon those maidens of yours, said Ochako. Right, said Midoriya as he summoned forth Isabelle, Valkyrie Hero, Skeleton, and Chronomancer to join them. All right, students, get into position, and get ready to test your might as heroes, said All Might as he led the rest of the class to the observation room. Students, are you ready? Begin, shouted All Might as everyone saw their classmates in action. It was already clear that Midoriya and Ochako had the higher advantage, as Midoriya could send all 5 of his maidens to explore all 5 floors and perform recon. All the while Bakugo went off to do his own thing as Tenya was stuck on puppy guard duty. Alright, we'll explore the 3rd floor with caution. Once we know whether the bomb is here or not, I'll summon the rest of my maidens to either aid us to get the jump on them, or to point us in the right direction, said Midoriya as Iroha and Ochako nodded in agreement. The trio didn't have to do much exploring, as they felt the blasting tremors from Bakugo, obviously fighting one of Midoriya's maidens, meaning they were on the right floor, or Bakugo was trying to psych them out and have him go towards where he was at. Okay, let's run past the C's halls really quick before going on and checking where Bakugo was at, suggested Ochako. I think we should go confront Kaken right now, said Midoriya. But why? Asked Ochako. Call it the hero within me waking up, said Midoriya as he and Iroha ran back to the stairs and confront Bakugo with Ochako coming from behind. Speaking of Bakugo, he was currently fighting against Skeleton, as the teen was able to outmaneuver him without breaking a sweat. Come on, I'm not even the strongest maiden in our master's arsenal, said Skeleton, as she was easily evading Bakugo's attacks. Shut up. You'll be crying once I get my hands on you, yelled Bakugo as he stuck his palm out ready to blast Skeleton into next week. But she ducked down as she clenched her fist, shooting herself back up with her fist coming in twice as fast. All Skeleton had to do was land one good punch into Bakugo as he fell over and heaved on the ground as he held his sides. Awesome, right? That was my bone stinger attack, which lets me hurt you where it'll count the most, as you can tell, said Skeleton as Bakugo held his right side and felt like someone had hit his ribs with an iron bowling ball. Now, what was that about making who cry now? Explosive orange baby, said Skeleton with a smug smile as Bakugo began to grit his teeth as he got back on his feet. For the last goddamn time, I'm an explosive orange adult, said Bakugo as he began to lift his right arm towards Skeleton and had his left hand resting on the pin of his grenade-shaped cuffs. And you, or any of those other bitches, are going to learn why, said Bakugo as he pulled the pin as a large barrage of explosions not only hit Skeleton, but also blew a hole in the wall. By the time Midoriya and the others made it to the top, he was overcome by a sudden sense of pain as his body fell over and he screamed in agony. Onii-chan / Izuku, exclaimed Iroha and Ochako, as they were unsure what to do as Midoriya continued to scream for a minute as the pain began to subside. On the other side of where the trio stood, Bakugo turned his head around as neither one of them were aware that Skeleton was not only severely injured, but her own personal HP was down to 0. Unable to stay in the world any longer, she began to break down into shadowy soot that creeped its way towards Midoriya, who had finally overcame his pain as what remained of Skeleton returned to his phone. "There you are, noob. You just missed me wiping the floor with one of your maidens just now. And quite frankly, I'm still pretty pissed after the whole ordeal," stated Bakugo, as he began to crack his knuckles before the paw went off. "Bakugo, you're not allowed to unleash that attack of yours any further. Do so again and I will intervene, forcing you to forfeit the match," said All Might as Bakugo began to sneer. "Whatever. Not like I need to waste my attack on a couple of noobs, especially you, Deku," said Bakugo as Midoriya was back on his feet. But he already looked exhausted. "Izuku, are you all right?" asked Ochako. "Yeah, I'm good, just realizing that Kaken is really playing for keeps," said Midoriya, as the rest of his maidens finally gathered around. "And you know what? I should too," said Midoriya as he pulled out his phone and returned Isabel, Chronomancer, and Valkyrie Hero, while also noticing that Skeleton was no longer part of his roster for some odd reason. "I'll look into this later. Right now I need a maiden who can stand up against Kaken," thought Midoriya as he had the perfect maiden for the job. Emerging before them was a woman with long purple hair and ruby red eyes, as she had 4 robot wings on her back, 2 collarbone pads made of metal that stretched down past under his breast, whilst covering her nipples, as they wrapped around about an inch or 2 under her breast, battle panties with the same kind of robot wings on her hip, thigh-high advanced combat greaves that had the same wings on her ankles, high-tech gauntlets, and out of everything she wore, the only set of normal article of clothing she had was a long purple scarf. Needless to say, the entire male students were more than cheering for the sight of such a sexy maiden to appear, as she could give the R-rated hero Midnight a run for her money, while the female students thought of Midoriya as another pervert. Deactivating sleep mode. "Waiting for next command," said the maiden. "Noob, this chick better be badass, and not some weakling with a nice bod as a means to seduce me. Cause frankly I feel insulted if that was your plan," said Bakugo. "Kaken, I want you to meet Ragnarok. She's a WMD, and is more than capable of taking you on," said Midoriya as he turned back to Iroha and Ochako. "You two go on and search for the bomb. I'll stay here and deal with Kaken," said Midoriya with a confident smile. "All right, we trust you," said Ochako as she took Iroha by the hand to finish their main objective. "Kaken, I don't want to hurt you, but I know that's not an option, is it?" said Midoriya. "Not in this life, noob," said Bakugo as his hands began to light a few sparks. "Ragnarok, I want you to take out Kaken without killing him," said Midoriya as Ragnarok nodded in agreement as she began to analyze Bakugo. "Target lock. Commencing the incapacitation of the explosive orang baby," said Ragnarok. "Gah, I'm an explosive orange," began to yell Bakugo as he couldn't finish his sentence as Ragnarok had already flew and tackled him outside through the hole he had made earlier as she took him for a high-speed ride. Elsewhere. Finding the floor where Tenya was guarding the bomb, Ochako and Iroha peeked around the corner as they thought about a plan they can execute. "Come on out. There's nothing you heroes can do to stop me. Especially you, Ochako, for I have moved anything and everything small out of sight, making your quirk all but useless," said Tenya as he unironically did a post-villainous laugh. "He's really getting into character," thought Ochako as she was amazed by his performance. "One-chan, you have an idea to beat him?" asked Iroha as she tugged on Ochako, who realized she wasn't alone and how both can defeat Tenya. "Iroha, get closer. I have a plan," said Ochako as Iroha obliged, waiting patiently for whatever they have planned. Tenya was definitely not expecting Iroha to be the one step out to face Tenya. "You are brave, little one, and while I should never hold back, for you I'll grant you this one exception," said Tenya, as he was aware that Iroha was indeed fictional, but still beating a child never looked good. "Here I go," said Iroha as she began to charge towards Tenya, as he was expecting her to stop in front of him to perform her signature axe kick attack, where she will fail and trip over once again. Just wait for the right moment, and I can sidestep with no worries, thought Tenya as he began to bend his knees as he prepared to dodge Iroha's attack. Axe kick, shouted Iroha as she stood in front of Tenya and began to lift her leg, where he waited for her cue to fall over. However, that never came to be. For the first time since arriving, Iroha managed to lift her leg all the way up towards her head before bringing it down so fast that Tenya forgot to react as she slammed it on his knee, causing him to fall over. "Oh," yelled Tenya as he held his knee. "I did it, Ochako-one-chan," said Iroha as she began to jump in joy. "Good job, Iroha. But there's still one more thing we got to do," said Ochako as she began to release her quirk. "That's right," said Iroha as she ran forward and touched the bomb, signaling that the heroes were victorious this round. "And that's game. The heroes are the victors of this round," announced All Might as everyone began to praise the combined group efforts of Ochako and Midoriya. Speaking of, he was just finished tying up Bakugo after his turbulent ride with Ragnarok. "Deku, you noob. Your maidens are a bunch of bitches," said Bakugo, as he was still seeing stars. "Good job, Ragnarok. You did great," said Midoriya. "You're welcome, master," said Ragnarok as Midoriya finally returned her back, while also wondering what happened to Skeleton. Time skip. Once everyone had gone through their course and were graded and assessed by everyone, it was time to call it another day, as everyone waited for the final bell to ring. "All right, school's over. Go home or whatever," said Aizawa, as he was the first to actually leave the classroom. "Midoriya, how did you get so lucky being able to have a quirk that lets you summon woman?" asked Mainta, as he was crying tears of blood. "Seriously, dude, I'd trade you my quirk if it means I can have yours," said Kaminari. "I don't know. I'm just grateful to finally have awoken my quirk after all these years," said Midoriya. "As awesome and useful it is to have a quirk like yours. I must say that you had us all fooled being a closet pervert, Ribbit," said Tsuyu. "What? What do you mean?" asked Midoriya as he was flustered over such a strong accusation. "Midoriya, even you can't play innocent after showing off that boob monster that definitely knocked Bakugo down a peg or 2 inches," said Gyro with a smug smile. "Go to hell," said Bakugo as he gave her the bird. "I mean, he didn't leave me no other choice. I we desperate to summon someone who could match Kakin in terms of strength," said Midoriya. "Seems to me our resident explosive orange baby got tossed in for a loop," said Tsuyu. "Gah, for the last time. I'm an explosive orange adult. In fact, Deku summoned that skeleton bitch here right now, so she can straighten things out for not only you, but for the rest of these noobs as well," said Bakugo. "Actually, that's the thing. She's not in my roster anymore," said Midoriya, as this got everyone's attention. "During our fight Kekken, you wiped out all of her HP. And while I didn't notice this at the time when I was writhing in pain, she got deleted from my current set of maidens," said Midoriya. "So that's it. She's gone, you can't summon her ever again?" asked Tenya. "I'm not sure. I'm holding out for the hope that I get lucky to draw and summon her again in a later run in my game," said Midoriya, as there's so much of his quirk that he's learning about, like the pain he receives when his maidens die in a sense, or the mentioning they get deleted from his roster, or how he noticed his phone's battery dropped a whopping 60% when Skeleton died, and when he summoned Ragnarok in her place. "Hey, maybe that's all you have to do. Get lucky and hope to draw her again," said Ochako with a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Thanks. But until then, I got a free ultra-rare summon this week that I've been meaning to use," said Midoriya. "Oh, so you're going to summon someone as strong as that last girl who got Bakugo?" asked Mainta. "Shut up," said Bakugo. "What? Oh no, someone stronger. Ragnarok is only a super rare like Iroha," said Midoriya. "Come again?" asked everyone in class. "Hold on a second, noob. You mean to tell me I got bested by 2 super rare girls today?" yelled Bakugo as he grabbed Midoriya by the collar of his shirt. "No, I mean yes. But Skeleton was only a rare card, explained Midoriya, as this really struck a nerve with Bakugo. Midoriya, out of question. What is the highest rank you can summon in terms of the power your maidens carry? Asked Tenya, as he was both curious and scared to know exactly how far Midoriya's potential power can rise to. In terms of draws or through microtransactions, on Legendary Rare. However, that's not counting the fact you can actually upgrade your maidens through evolving or even amalgamation features. Though from what I heard, the developers plan to release a new form of ranking and evolving on a whole new and wider scale to make your maidens 10 times powerful, said Midoriya. Needless to say, it was a lot of information to take in. But from what they gathered, Midoriya has a chance of getting crazy strong the more he continues to play the game and collects maidens, that is. Alright, noob, summon your ultra rare maiden of the week and bring her out, so I can kick her ass already, said Bakugo, as he hated the fact that him falling behind anyone, especially Midoriya, was a potential reality, and one he dared not to see happen. Bakugo, there's no fighting permitted outside of training, said Tenya. Stay out of this 4 eyes. And Deku, get to summoning already, said Bakugo, as he was more angry than usual. Okay, just give me a minute, alright, said Midoriya as he turned his phone on and redeemed the ultra rare ticket. He got to summon his first ultra rare maiden in a while. Having to return Iroha for the time being, Midoriya had begun to summon his new maiden, as the room began to get colder by each passing second. As this did not go unnoticed by Todoroki. Appearing before the students in a patch of ice stalactites was a woman with fair skin, blue eyes, and blue hair. As she had wolf-like ears over her head, wolf paws down her forearms, and legs up her calves in the same blue-colored pelt, as she had no clothing to cover her, as she used her arms to cover her breast, in spite of how heavily chained she was in her position. This was Fenrir, a maiden that Midoriya's maidens had mentioned during their first outing, as she glared angrily at everyone, including Midoriya. So you're my new master, huh? I'm unimpressed since you look like a total noob, said Fenrir, as her words are as cold as her. I like her already. Alright, get up and get ready to fight. Deku, undo her chains already, noob, said Bakugo. Huh? Why would I want to fight some small fry like you, said Fenrir, as she was annoyed by Bakugo's challenge. Who the hell are you calling a small fry, you icy whipped babe? Exclaimed Bakugo, as he was even more ready to finish Fenrir off. Who are you calling an icy whipped babe? You explosive orange baby, said Fenrir, as both were ready to go all out. Midoriya, I think now is the time to return your maiden, said Tenya, as no one realized that shortly after Midoriya had summoned Fenrir, his body was freezing with patches of frostbite forming around. Midoriya, exclaimed Tenya, as he and everyone began to panic over the well-being of one of their most strongest classmate, as Midoriya soon fell over. Waking up in the infirmary was not something Midoriya had planned, at least not on the first week of school. Ugh, what happened? Groaned Midoriya. So you finally wake up, said Recovery Girl, as she came into Midoriya's line of sight. Oh, yes, I'm sorry for bothering you, said Midoriya. It's all right. It means you're only getting stronger, or at least tapped into your inner strength, said Recovery Girl, as she brought Midoriya a calorie bar. Eat this up. But do it quietly as to not wake up your little sister, said Recovery Girl, as Midoriya realized that by his side holding him tight was Iroha, as she had passed out. Iroha, said Midoriya sympathetically, as she was the last person he wanted to worry. I know you just got up, and honestly I was surprised to hear that we were allowing a child like her to enroll here. But really, to go and worry such a sweet little girl like that, said Recovery Girl. I know, I'm really sorry about that, said Midoriya, as he lowered his head in shame. Well, as long as you learned your lesson, you're good. Now I'll give you a moment to wake the deer up. And please hurry, the school gates will close in the next half hour, said Recovery Girl. Thank you. And sorry once again for being an inconvenience, said Midoriya, as Recovery Girl finally left the room, as Midoriya turned to look at Iroha. Iroha, come on, it's time to wake up, said Midoriya. Mumbled Iroha, as she slowly began to open her eyes. Midoriya Oniai-chan, exclaimed Iroha as she latched herself tighter on Midoriya. Hey Iroha, sorry for worrying you back there, said Midoriya as he thought back to what had happened earlier too when he summoned Fenrir, and how his body was starting to freeze and blister away from the forming frostbite on his body. And before he knew it, he had passed out. Come on, we gotta leave. The school is closing, and we don't want to wind up spending the night here on campus, said Midoriya. Okay, said Iroha as she kicked the blanket off and led them out of school. Waiting for them outside the school gates were none other than Tenya and Ochako. But joining them were Bakugo to Midoriya's surprise, but more so Todoroki. Hey guys, what's up? Asked Midoriya. We were worried about you. Shortly after you summoned that new maiden of yours, said Tenya, as he waved his arms around back and forth. Yeah, so we waited for you out here like usual, said Ochako. Thanks guys, said Midoriya, as this happy reunion was cut short thanks to Bakugo walking in between them and just glaring at Midoriya. Kaken, Midoriya said nervously. Listen here, noob. As much as it brings me joy, you can't summon any more of those powerful bitches anytime soon. Don't think I'm gonna go easy on you or any of those other maidens. 'Cause no matter their rank, I will mop the floor with them, said Bakugo. Bakugo, need I remind you that Midoriya was in this situation due to your unheroic, unfriendly coercion, said Tenya. Stuff it. 4 eyes, said Bakugo as he turned to look at Tenya, before realizing Todoroki wasn't too far from them. This has nothing to do with you half and half bastard. So if you got something to say, spit it out, said Bakugo. Very well, Midoriya. In spite of what you had recently experienced, I must say you caught my attention, said Todoroki. I want to say I felt as if I was jealous upon the summoning of that new maiden of yours, as I could feel the power of her ice abilities before she could even summon it, as she argued with Bakugo, said Todoroki. So consider us as rivals, aiming to be the top, even if you or I, or anyone else for that matter, share the same power, and will someday have to duel it out in a battle of endurance, said Todoroki, as the realization that Midoriya may have maidens with similar powers to them, but more in control, hit everyone. Deku, you noob. I know you already got that one bitch trotting that old-ass cannon. So help me if you have any more that can cast explosion damage of any kind the next time we fight. I will beat back to nursery school, said Bakugo, as he began to flare up his palms. I don't have any, I swear, said Midoriya, as he knew there existed at least a few more maidens that do use explosions as their main course of weapons. You better. And if you do draw any of them, you'd be smart not to summon them in front of me, said Bakugo before he finally backed away, as the group started to head towards down the hill and head their own way back home. Unknown to the group of 5 teenagers, they were being followed by a familiar group of punks, including a new member, who was the only male of the group as he had his hair slicked back, and wore a large bomber jacket with their group's logo on the back of said bomber jacket. There you go, Soundwave. There's that punk who got you busted, along with some of his loser friends, said woman in gym attire, as she drank a can of energy drink. Thanks, Monster Bull. If you hadn't been for you or Needles over here, I'd be screwed, said Soundwave as she began to crack her knuckles. Whatever, said Needles. It's because of you that we got the police really cracking down on us and the boss ass. Honestly, I don't even know why you're this persistent to get this kid, said the blue-skinned woman as she had a crossbow on her back and a sharpened meat mallet in her hands. That little shit, and those bitches he had by his side got me nearly sent to jail. And now that he's without them and surrounded by his pussy-assed friends, we can finally strike and make an example out of them, said Soundwave. I hate to break it to you, but I already scanned all of them. And while the punk is practically a nobody civilian, that angry-looking punk and that kid with half his hair dyed aren't something to be laughed at, said the blue-skinned woman calmly. Then do something about it. I'm wasting my time staying here talking to you, said Soundwave as she and Monster Bull went on ahead, as Needles stayed a little behind. Keep us in the clear, Calypso. Radio me. And all them we got to jet, said Needles as he waved his 2-way radio at her. You got it, Needles, said Calypso, as Needles finally joined the rest of the Edas. Meanwhile, the group had made it down the mountain where they had learned. They already missed the last bus back to their designated homes. Deku, you noob, this is all your fault, yelled Bakugo. I'm sorry, yelped Midoriya. You have nothing to apologize. Since this whole incident traced back to being Bakugo's fault, commented Todoroki. You want to start something, yelled Bakugo. No, but I do, said Soundwave, getting the group's attention as Midoriya was wide. I surprised to see an unfriendly face again. It's you, said Midoriya. Midoriya, you know this woman, asked Tenya, as he was surprised by the woman Midoriya knew that weren't his maidens. He better remember me, and what I told him how the Edas were coming for you. But more importantly, the power I carried, said Soundwave as she stuck her arms out as a shockwave was being sent their way. Fortunately, Todoroki was quick to react, as he erected an ice barrier that barely held through her attacks. This is bad, commented Todoroki, as the group noticed Monster Bowl and Needles joining Soundwave. Maybe for that noob Deku. But honestly, I see this as an opportunity to let loose and kick some ass, said Bakugo. No, we should call in for the police, or better yet, an actual hero to deal with the situation, said Tenya. If you want to run, then run. I'm gonna stay here and fight, said Bakugo, as he blasted his way towards Soundwave as the two duked it out. Eda, if you can run back towards the school and get a teacher. We'll stay here and hold them off as long as we can, said Todoroki. On it, said Tenya, as he gave him a thumbs up. Getting out and erecting a large wave of ice to divert the attention of the other two Eda members. Tenya took this as his opportunity to run as he rushed his way towards the school. Hang on, guys. I'll get someone to help us right away, thought Tenya. And just where do you think you're going? Asked Monster Bull, as she ran next to Tenya with an unamused look on her face. What? How can you run as fast as me? Exclaimed Tenya to an unironic question. Oh, you got it all wrong. You see, said Monster Bull as she dashed ahead of the speeding Tenya before she pivoted her footing to deliver a straight punch to the teen's face. I'm actually way more faster than you, said Monster Bull calmly as she popped another can of energy drink off her person. As Tenya gripped his bloody nose, the left lens of his glasses had cracked. You cur, growled Tenya as Monster Bull grabbed him by the back of his jacket and dragged him all the way back down and tossed him overhand where he slammed his back on a street pole. Tenya, exclaimed Ochako in concern. And I thought these punks would be a challenge, said Monster Bull, as she barely avoided getting frozen by Todoroki, as Needles focused his attention on Ochako and Midoriya. Got to make a living somehow, said Needles, as he pulled out a handgun from his jacket as he approached the duo. Tenya, please stay with me, said Midoriya as he, Ochako, and Iroha were checking on their speedster, who was out for the count. Behind you, said Tenya as Midoriya turned his head to greet the barrel of Needles' handgun. My advice is to sit still and don't move. Last thing I want is for Soundwave to chew me out for taking her revenge kill, said Needles. You meanie, said Iroha. Cry me a river brat, said Needles as Midoriya began to evaluate the situation he was in. He knew Needles had no real desire to not kill him, lest he did something to provoke him. And yet he couldn't trust him to say make an example and shoot one of his friends. After weighing out the consequences, Midoriya looked at Ochako, who caught his gaze and knew that he was going to take action any second now. And it came when Midoriya smacked the gun skywards and giving Ochako and Iroha to jump the guy as they attempted to wrestle the man for his gun. During these brief seconds, Midoriya pulled out his phone and began to call forth reinforcements. Get off me, yelled Needles as he finally showed of his quirk when his body erupted with a bunch of small poisonous quills around his body, causing Iroha and Ochako to finally back away before they could get hurt. That's it, you're both dead, said Needles before he had his gun shot off from his hand along with his right trigger finger. Fuck, yelled the man as he turned his head to see the appearance of Isabel, Valkyrie hero, and Pyrotechnist. Couldn't have said it better, said Pyrotechnist as she had her cannon lit, ready to blast Needles to next week. but he chose to run instead, and used the opportunity to use her blind spot to instead push Todoroki in his way instead. Pyrotechnist, stop! Yelled Midoriya, as it was too late as her cannon fired and Todoroki was hit and got sent flying over. Oh, grunted Todoroki as he barely dodged getting punched by Monster Bull before getting back to his feet. But upon doing so, there was missing pep to his step. What's wrong? Feeling fatigue from the explosion? Or perhaps you got touched by Needle's poison quills, said Monster Bull mockingly as Todoroki looked over on his shoulders to indeed find the evidence of his increasing fatigue. Better hurry to a hospital. Needle's quills happened to contain the poison potency of 5 Black Widows hopped up on steroids, said Monster Bull, as she visibly saw Todoroki shaking at the knees as his breathing got heavy. But still he would not deter from stopping these punks. No, said Todoroki as he launched some ice down his way and completely froze Monster Bull from the mid-waist down. What gives you shouldn't be able to do this, said Monster Bull. That's the thing. There's suffering from physical fatigue and constitutional fatigue. And frankly speaking, I'm psychologically tough after what my father put me through, said Todoroki as he was ready to give Bakugo a hand, but was stopped by the comforting shoulder of Valkyrie Hero. No worries, we got things from here, said Valkyrie Hero with a smile as she began to carry Todoroki away. But what about? Said Todoroki as he saw that Needles had been brought down by Isabelle. Leave it up to them. My focus is getting you and Tenya to see a hospital ASAP, said Valkyrie Hero as Todoroki nodded and let her do her thing in rescuing him. Isabelle, did you took care of Needles? Asked Midoriya to see the guy had bullet holes in both his legs. No worries, master. You can count on me, said Isabelle. And you can count on me to aid the explosive orange baby, said Pyrotechnist as she began to lit her cannon again as Bakugo and Soundwave were evenly matched. Unknown to the group, Calypso was there watching everything and was ready to aid her team should the moment come. Like right now as she had her crossbow pointed towards Pyrotechnist. Pulling the trigger, the bolt zoomed past the trees and shot Pyrotechnist in the head, much to everyone's surprise as she fell over with her cannon discharging in front of her, killing her in an instant. Like before when Bakugo had previously beat Skeleton, Midoriya felt a large amount of pain before, where Pyrotechnist had died. Flames erupted and launched its way toward Midoriya, as this ironically eased his pain in spite of his jacket catching fire. Izuku/Onii-chan, shouted Ochako and Iroha, as Ochako was quick to put out any of the small flames around his body. Master, exclaimed Isabelle as she began to focus her attention towards the woods, not sure where or who she was looking for with both of her guns drawn out. Iroha, take Master and the girl somewhere safe, said Isabelle. All right, said Iroha as she and Ochako helped carry Midoriya out of harm's way. Sorry, kid. But you shouldn't have chose to play hero with the wrong group, said Calypso, as she had already moved from her position and shot another bolt, this time getting Midoriya in the calf as she screamed and fell over. Master, I see you, said Isabelle as she saw where the bolt came from and ran in to deal with Calypso, who had a trap set up in the form of caltrops, as Isabelle yelped in pain and fell over. Having her on the ground, Calypso was about ready to beat Isabelle's head in with her meat mallet. But the crack shot remained had lifted her right hand up and pulled the trigger, nailing a perfect headshot in Calypso's head. Master, please you must hurry, said Isabelle, as she began to pluck the caltrop from the soles of her boots. Back on the main street, Bakugo was unrelentless in his attacks, as he kept pushing Soundwave back, before he got the best of her when he blasted himself over her, where he rained a barrage of explosions on her back, causing her to fall over. Not so tough now, are you, noob? Said Bakugo with a smug smile. Fuck you, you explosive orange baby, said Soundwave as she honestly made up the insult, unaware of it being Bakugo's nickname already. Hey, I'm an explosive orange adult, so neither you nor your friends, no Deku or his noob maidens, especially that icy whipped babe, can call me that, said Bakugo as he grabbed Soundwave by the collar of her shirt resulting her spitting in his face. "Nobody spits on me," said Bakugo calmly, as he was ready to blast her head off, but was stopped due to Monster Bull breaking free and sucker punching Bakugo in the face. "You all right?" asked Monster Bull as she gave Soundwave a hand. "I will be once we kill this fool, and that curly-haired noob," said Soundwave. "Over my dead body," said Bakugo, as he looked down at both women defiantly. "Come on, I'm still standing," said Bakugo as he was taunting them both. "Let's end this already," said Monster Bull as she slammed down another energy drink before she and Soundwave pursued their assault on Bakugo. Meanwhile, Midoriya had been dragged towards behind some cement walls not too far from the station as the girls examined his leg. "Izuku, I don't know what to do," said Ochako as this was too much for her. "I agree. Things have certainly got out of hand," said Midoriya as he began to remove his jacket. "Onii-chan, what about Kaken?" asked Iroha, as they can still hear the explosions behind them. "I don't know. But we can't just leave him alone," said Midoriya as he summoned Chronomancer at long last. "Master? What happened to you?" asked Chronomancer with concern in her voice. "A lot has happened. Listen, I need you to turn back time to at least an hour back before this happened to me," said Midoriya. "That won't be a problem, Master." "Staff of Time," shouted Chronomancer as she had brought everyone back on top of the hill where Midoriya and company had originally stood before their fight with the Edas. "Master, we have successfully returned back in time," said Chronomancer as she saw the injured Tenya and loopy Todoroki, Midoriya falling on his own legs thanks to the bolt. And of course the blood-covered Ochako and bruised-covered Bakugo suddenly healing from their injuries. "Iroha, please go get a teacher," ordered Midoriya, as Iroha wasted no time in finding one of the available teaching staff. Within minutes, the students were under the protection of the pro heroes, while All Might, Eraserhead, and Present Mike personally went and searched the area for any of the Eda members. However, they were nowhere to be found. "Sigh, what a day," said Midoriya. "You can say that again," said Aizawa as he approached Midoriya. "Sensei," said Midoriya. "Hey, I just wanted to check on you. Make sure you kids are all right," asked Aizawa. "I'm fine, sir. Thanks," said Midoriya as Aizawa examined his jacket that still looked like it was still set on fire recently. "Mind telling me what happened to your jacket?" asked Aizawa. "Oh, this. Well, when we were attacked, another one of my maidens got destroyed where I felt her pain and was lightly set on fire because of it," said Midoriya. "You know, normally I would assume you would have done something to provoke either Bakugo or Todoroki. And yet, after hearing back from all of your experience, I believe you. Not to mention the report I finished reading from All Might during your class today," said Aizawa. "Yeah, crazy that out of all the things to remain intact from us traveling back in time, it was my burnt jacket. But honestly, it could be worse," said Midoriya. "You're right. Which is why I'm going to tell you this only once. You are forbidden from ever summoning Chronomancer ever again," said Aizawa. "Huh, but why?" asked Midoriya. "Listen, it's honestly bad enough that you have a quirk that enables you to summon a roster of women of all ages with all kinds of power. However, the fact that we, the teaching staff, knows along with those punks about you having the power to turn back time is frankly very dangerous, and puts a big target on your back, not including the potential risk of messing with the space-time continuum, if those sci-fi movies have anything to prove," said Aizawa. "So Midoriya, for not only your sake, but literally for the sake of everyone here on this planet, do not, I repeat, do not summon Chronomancer or any other maiden with the power to manipulate time ever again. Can you promise me that?" said Aizawa. I swear, sir," said Midoriya as he himself began to honestly think about the consequences himself. "All right then, stay out of trouble, and just hang tight for a minute longer. We'll have the police escort you kids back home," said Aizawa as he left Midoriya to himself to think things through from now on. "Deku, you noob. What are you moping around for?" asked Kaken as he was carrying Iroha under his arms. "Kaken, what?" asked Midoriya before Bakugo yeeted Iroha onto his lap. "Look, not gonna lie. I'm pissed you pulled the red carpet from under me when I was finally kicking ass. However, I'm more pissed that you instead to use your maidens like cannon fodder. With those burn marks on those jackets, serving as a clear reminder, said Bakugo. I get it. Even for weaklings, those maidens of yours are more powerful. But frankly, they got nothing compared to that WMD bitch who got me earlier. So either get smart and summon more maidens like her, or even better, get tough to summon that icy whipped babe so I can put her in her place. And all of her friends without you suffering the consequences, said Bakugo as he turned away from him. Oni-chan, are you all right? Asked Iroha. No, not really. Honestly, Kaken is right, I need to get stronger, said Midoriya, as he began to pull out his All Might wallet and count up the small change he had on. Tomorrow before we come to school, I need to buy some microtransaction cards. But until then I'm gonna play this game till the break of dawn, said Midoriya. Yay, shouted Iroha as she sat on Midoriya's lap, as they waited patiently for their ride to pick them up. Elsewhere. After finding themselves not only recovered, but also finding themselves alive again, the Eda members fled before the arrival of All Might, and were currently back in their hideout, which was inside the computer lab in an old, abandoned school far on the other side of town. I've got to be the most naive SOB in town, or you idiots are proving to be more inept by the day, said a shadowy figure in the shadows, as his Eda members came back with shame on their face. So tell me, Soundwave, why should I let you go unpunished after seeing how your pride and ego literally got us put on the watchful eyes of not only the police, but possibly the #1 hero in the world? Asked Eda leader. Because I'm one of the few people here who's got the firepower you need to kick ass and take names, said Soundwave under a tough act. Until recently that was true. But now we got Monster Bull, the Seicho, and Blink Twice, who are more than capable fighters and have proven to all be more competent than you, said the Eda leaders as the group saw shadowy tentacles began to form around his body. If I may, sir, we were not expecting to fight someone who can manipulate time, leaving us at a disadvantage and giving these twerps to call in for someone like All Might, said Calypso. And can you prove this? Asked the Eda leader. In terms of physical evidence, no, as Needles here has recovered from his bullet injuries and I came back from the dead. But we were all there and remembered the damage we had all inflicted upon them, said Calypso. Calypso, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt this time around, though frankly, I don't see the point in you wanting to cover for this bombastic simpleton. As for you, Soundwave, you're to stay here and will be under the shared supervision of Blink Twice and the Irish exit, and won't leave unless I've given you an order. Now all of you get the hell out of my sight, said the Eda leader as he began to brood and think over his next course of action. Even in spite of what he and his friends had experienced yesterday, Midoriya remained more determined than ever as he stayed up since 3 a.m. playing Valkyrie Crusade along with purchasing something to help manage his inventory better till 3 a.m. in the morning. So in spite of how tired he was coming to school, he was a little more ready for danger should it come along. Even if he was napping on the bus right off campus with his whole class in their hero outfits. Hey Iroha, is Midoriya gonna be all right? Asked Kirishima as he sat next to Bakugo. Midoriya Oni-chan was up all night trying to collect maidens and tested out the new ones he had summoned, explained Iroha. Well, I guess the noob really brought the word to a whole new low, all by himself, said Bakugo with a shit-eating smile. And yet, he's more than ready to take you and possibly any of us on with his maidens, without breaking a sweat, said Kirishima. Gah, I dare you to say that to me again, you red-head bastard, yelled Bakugo. Bakugo, shame on you for swearing in front of a child, said Tenya. You've got no right to speak, Mr. Glassjaw. Or do I need to remind you how you got your ass knocked down after one punch, said Bakugo. Bakugo, that's enough. Frankly, we should be grateful to be alive after yesterday's attack, and any damage we would have sustained almost never happened thanks to Midoriya, said Todoroki. Oh, you want to go half and half, bastard, yelled Bakugo before he was restrained by Aizawa. That's enough. I know you kids tend to be giddy on field trips. But calm down already. We're almost there, said Aizawa before he finally released his hold on his most antagonizing student. Iroha, do me a favor and wake up Midoriya. We're almost there, said Aizawa before sitting back down. Yes, sensei, said Iroha as she began to nudge Midoriya awake. What's going on, mumbled Midoriya. Time to wake up Onii-chan, said Iroha as Midoriya restlessly began to get up and wipe the drool off the corner of his mouth. Okay, I'm awake, said Midoriya just as the bus came to a halt. Everyone, please exit the bus in an orderly fashion, said Tenya as he moved his hands like a robot again. Once everyone got off, everyone was greeted by a guest hero decked in her iconic hero outfit. Greetings, students, and welcome to one of our off-campus training grounds. Some of you may know me as the Rescue Hero 13. And it is with great pleasure for me to train you all in today's exercise, said 13. Hey Ochako, isn't she the one you look up to, asked Midoriya. Yeah, she's who I aspire to be, said Ochako, as she was excited to meet her hero. Today, you will all be divided and placed in situational areas to train and coordinate yourselves appropriately should you be in a crisis situation. Granted, it'll be places where you see yourself feeling the most comfortable once you start your careers as pros, explained 13. Now how about we get ourselves settled inside, everyone, said 13 as everyone slowly got inside as she got to look at all the students she'll be training today. But the one who got her attention was Iroha. Hello there, little one. Awfully young to be joining a hero course, said 13. I'm here with my Onii-chan to be a strong hero someday, said Iroha proudly as her pure innocent energy got 13 to tousle her hair. Well, if that's the case, I'm sure you'll do fine. And you, young man, I don't think I need tell you to stay attentive in taking care of your little sister now, said 13 as she examined Midoriya, who was still tired. No worries, I'd never let anything happen to Iroha. Besides, she's more than capable on her own, said Midoriya. All right then, young man. You two take care now, said 13 as she saw the two off as she and Aizawa stayed behind. I don't know if anyone told you, but that was one of our students who were attacked last night. More so the one with a summoning quirk. With that child also counting as being a big part of it, said Aizawa. So what's your point? She's as real as you and me. Or have you truly grew to be cold-hearted towards everyone including children, said 13. No comment. Also, I got word that All Might will be running late, said Aizawa. That's fine. Besides, doesn't change the fact we got students in need of our attention, to train them to become the best of the best, said 13. Upon entering the facility, the teachers were just about ready to divide them all to each suitable location for their students. However, as luck would have it, danger was truly imminent. Well, what do we have here? The next generation of superheroes, all eager and ready to become heroes, said Tamura, an odd figure who appeared to dress like every edgy emo kid on the street. Though the only thing that truly made him stand out was the prosthetic hand clamped tightly on his face. It's a shame you're all going to have to die. But don't worry, your deaths won't be in vain, as it'll ensure me that my victory over the death of All Might shall be achieved, said Tamura as he awkwardly looked at the class. And just where the hell is he? Asked Tamura, as he began to stress out and scratch his neck. Kurogiri, where the hell is All Might? He should be here, demanded Tamura, as the warp he entered was starting to take some level of form. I'm not entirely sure, but this does throw our plans in for a loop, said Kurogiri, as he remained calm over the situation. Shall we retreat and try again another day? Asked Kurogiri. No. This doesn't change anything. After all, the symbol of peace wouldn't allow the future heroes of tomorrow in vain, would he? Said Tamura. You and what army noob? Yelled Bakugo as he was held back by Kirishima and Iroha. Kaken, calm down, said Midoriya as he knew how bad their situation can be. Why this army, of course, said Tamura, as many warp portals opened inside the facility, as many small-time crooks appeared just eager to prove their salt in front of Tamura. Kids, stay back. Leave everything to the professionals, said 13. You heard her, kids. Stay put and stay calm. I won't let any of these low lives to dare approach you. said Aizawa as he began to slip his goggles on as he took on the criminals in front of him with ease, unaware that left Kurogiri the opportunity to have his and separate the students from everyone as a means to really stress the pros out. No, exclaimed 13 as she tried sucking in Kurogiri, but that damage had been done for the most part. Damn it all might. Where the hell are you? Thought Aizawa as he caught short wind what happened behind his back. But this only motivated him to take on the villains before him with everything he's got, with or without backup. With Midoriya. After being warped alongside with Tsuyu and Mainta, he found himself in the large pool in front of the large ship he spotted when they entered the building. What the hell was that, guys? Why the hell is this happening to us? Asked Mainta, as he was the only one panicking. Calm down, freaking out isn't going to help us. Besides, we couldn't have been sent to a better place, said Tsuyu with a ribbit. She's right. We should be safe once we get on the boat and figure things out, said Midoriya as the trio began to climb aboard the ship, unaware what was creeping in the water. Okay, we're on as everyone, said Midoriya as he realized one important person was missing from his group. Iroha? Where's Iroha? Asked Midoriya as he frantically looked for her. I think she may have been left back with the others with 13, said Mainta. If not possibly with the other students, said Tsuyu. Oh God, said Midoriya as his heart began to race as he worried for the well-being of Iroha, but was brought back to earth when Tsuyu rested her hands on his face and got him to look at her. Calm down, Midoriya. Iroha is going to be fine, because none of us would allow any harm happen to that little girl, said Tsuyu as her methods to calm down Midoriya worked. Thanks, but could you please remove your hands from my face? Asked Midoriya as he was starting to blush. I guess the girls and I are wrong about you being an otaku who's comfortable with all kinds of women, said Tsuyu. Wait, what gave you that impression? Asked Midoriya as Mainta punched his leg. You can summon all kinds of hot babes to your disposal, whenever wherever you want, you playboy womanizer, Mainta said with obvious jealousy as Tsuyu silenced him with a slap from her tongue. Hold on, guys, I'm nothing like that. Besides, they're all 2D to begin with, said Midoriya as he was flustered over the image his classmates had of him. Word of wisdom. Even 2D women aren't two-dimensional. Though I guess if there's anything to learn from this experience, it's that you still feel uncomfortable around 3D women to some extent, said Tsuyu. Before the group could continue talking about Midoriya's love life, preferential taste, and possible kinks, they felt something rocked the boat. Peeking over, the trio looked over the railing to see that they were surrounded by predatory crooks who ruled in the open seas, or in the water, as they had the teens surrounded. Oh crap, what do we do? Asked Mainta as he began to panic again. I'm not worried since I know Midoriya has a maiden or two perfect for the job here, said Tsuyu as she turned to look at him. Yeah, I do actually, said Midoriya as he pulled out his phone to summon Isabel, but also two new maidens who excel in long-range attacks. The first was a woman who wore an open green dress, revealing her green combat bra and panties, short creamy brown hair and eyes, as she wore knee-high leather boots, a large red scarf under a large green rose necklace with a similar rose adorned on the right side of her head as she held a crossbow in her hands. This was Archerhood. The other woman had short black hair and blue eyes, with her left eye being covered with a black eye patch, a loosely strapped tube top that revealed the black straps to her bra, as she wore baggy military pants that slid down a little to reveal her black thong and rose tattoo on her lower left hip, as she carried a high-caliber rifle over her shoulder and a spare ammo belt around her right arm. This was Sharpshooter. Seriously, Midoriya, you are lucky, selfish bastard. Why the hell are you so lucky to be surrounded by hot girls 24/7 inches, cried Mainta, as he was actually crying blood. I got to admit, even if they got the skills, your selection shows that you're definitely quite the pervert, said Tsuyu as any progress they made from their conversation was out the window again. Master permission to shoot the little man in front of me. His lecherous leer creeps me out, said Sharpshooter as she cocked her rifle and pointed directly at Mainta's head. No, please don't. I need you three to protect us and take out the enemy surrounding us out in the water, instructed Midoriya. Sure thing, master. How do you want us to approach them? With extreme prejudice and simple pacification, asked Isabel. Pacify them, said Midoriya, as Isabel nodded with a smile. Sharpshooter said nothing and went to work, while Archerhood seemed to be displeased by their instructions, as obvious when she clicked her tongue. That woman with the crossbow seemed upset, said Tsuyu, as the maidens went to work defending the trio and keeping the crooks out at sea at bay. That's how they're designed, I guess, said Midoriya, as many of the villains from the water were screaming in pain as they desperately attempted to use their quirk to toss the ship over. All in all, this buys us some time, though we still need a plan for the long run in our situation, said Tsuyu. Agreed. Which is why I'm phoning for the police right now, said Midoriya as he began to dial the line number for the boys in blue. Elsewhere, inside of a ruined, cramped building, we see Bakugo grabbing the arm of a red shirt who attempted to stab him with. But the teen was able to grab his arm and forced it out of harm's way before slamming his palm into the man's torso and blasted him out the window. Geez, dude, you don't hold back, said Kirishima as he punched the lights out of a red shirt holding a pipe. And neither should you, jackass. We got a kid who needs to be looked out for, said Bakugo, as he headbutted another red shirt before blasting him into two of his buddies across the hallway. It turns out that in the ensuing chaos, Iroha got warped alongside Bakugo and Kirishima as she was holding her own, no matter how clumsy her attacks were. I mean, the kid is pretty capable. I've seen her take on Tenya during our first training class, said Kirishima as he backed fist another lackey. First off, don't dig old shit. Secondly, she was going up against that four-eyed bastard with a glass jaw. And even then she got help by that chick who can manipulate gravity, said Bakugo as he turned to see someone was attempting to attack Iroha from behind. But he blasted himself over and delivered a flying kick to the lackey's jaw. Watch your back and stay close to us, squirt, barked Bakugo as he brought Iroha closer to him and Kirishima, who punched another red shirt's lights out. Why must you be so aggressive, dude? Asked Kirishima as someone hit him over the head with an iron pipe only for it to break, before Bakugo ran forward and delivered an explosive-laced punch that sent them flying. Why must I be surrounded by nothing but jackasses and dumbasses in this school? Yelled Bakugo as he was ready to counter an attacking red shirt. But Iroha covered him instead and took the man out with a swift punch to the knee, followed by a clumsy kick to the head. Except for you, squirt. You're all right in my book, said Bakugo as the trio continued to fight for their safety. Elsewhere, with the sudden arrival of the Namu, it was definitely making Aizawa's situation much more challenging as the brute was affected by the pro's quirk. And if he had to guess on the man's raw strength on brutality after the punch he received, he'd say he was most likely as strong as All Might. Talk about being in a no-win situation, thought Aizawa as he wished All Might could get his butt here already to save them. And at the same time knew that these villains were really after him. If I'm going down, I'm at least going to take you down with me, punk, stated Aizawa as he looked at Tamura. Yes, try as you might. However, you won't be able to reach me. And even if you were, do you really want to risk having Namu attack you from behind? Said Tamura as he had it all planned out. Let's boogie, said Aizawa as he ran forward towards the Namu as it readied to punch the pro's head off. But Aizawa ducked and slid under him as he activated his quirk on time to prevent Tamura do to him again, like he did to his arm a few minutes back. Feeling the looming presence of Namu on his back, Aizawa had flipped towards the side, while keeping his vision on Tamura. Tossing his cloth over, he was able to bind Tamura and reel him towards Namu, as the brute nearly killed him when he batted the young man aside, as Aizawa finally had a chance to blink. Damn it. Even I got to admit that was clever using Namu against me like that, coughed Tamura as he wasn't out for the count. But he sure was hurt pretty bad. Still, it was all for nothing, said Tamura, as Namu had grabbed Aizawa and slammed him to the ground with all of his strength, finally putting the man out for the count. But I can't risk having you around. Not as long as you retain that pesky quirk of yours, said Tamura, as he freed himself from the binding and approached his way towards Aizawa, with the intent of turning him into dust on the spot. However, just as he knelt down, ready to do the deed, he heard a loud gunshot, before being knocked back on his ass once again. Tamura! Exclaimed Kurogiri in fear as he knelt beside All for One's disciple, who was now missing his pinky and ring fingers and a chunk of his left hand as he laid on the ground bleeding. Slowly lifting his hand up, Tamura trembled in a mixture of terror and rage that he was missing some vital pieces of his most important appendage as he saw what kind of damage was done to him. While distracted, Midoriya, Tsuyu, and Mainta had long since swam towards shore, with Sharpshooter and Archerhood staying behind to provide any additional cover they may need from afar. Seeing their sensei in critical condition, Midoriya acted on without thinking as he rushed past the Namu and retrieved his body. As the brute honestly seemed to pay no mind towards Midoriya. Sensei, Aizawa-sensei, hang in there. I've already called in the police to come here and send as many pros they can, said Midoriya as he got no response from the man. Seeing how bad the situation was, Midoriya knew there was only one surefire way to honestly prevent this from happening, as he took out his phone and proceeded to summon Chronomancer. Greeting, Master, said Chronomancer, as she soon realized she was brought into a battlefield that was just as bad as yesterday after school. I'm sorry, Sensei, but I can't let this continue on, thought Midoriya as he never would have imagined he'd have to break his promise with his sensei so fast in a short amount of time. Chronomancer, I need you to, said Midoriya as he heard the light groaning sound of Aizawa next to him. Midoriya, don't, said the pro. Aizawa-sensei, please, I can help you. Just let me have Chronomancer turn back time, said Midoriya. Damn it, kid. You really want me to expel you, said Aizawa as he looked up with his quirk activated, as he was dead serious over the promise he had Midoriya made him. But Sensei, said Midoriya, understand that being a hero means getting hurt, killed even. But if it's for a cause worth dying or getting hurt for, then that's all right, said Aizawa. Now please, send her away now. My eyes and head are starting to get heavy, said Aizawa. Even though he didn't want to, Midoriya begrudgingly returned Chronomancer back as he heard something big stomping their foot in front of him. It was Namu as it towered over the group of students and co-pro. And behind the brute was Tamura, as he finally got back on his feet. You little shit, I don't know how exactly, but something tells me this is your fault, said Tamura, as he pointed at Midoriya with his bloody trigger finger. So consider me having Namu ripping your arm from your body as payment for taking my fingers here, said Tamura as Namu let out a yell and started charging towards the group. But just as Midoriya's life flashed before his eyes, the greatest hero finally emerged on the scene. Delaware smash, shouted All Might as he knocked Namu away from the group. All Might, exclaimed Midoriya as he felt hope has finally came. Young Midoriya, and everyone, I'm sorry for coming so late. And while my job as a pro hero requires that I must do my duties as a pro hero, that's still no excuse for me as an educator to leave you all standing and waiting for my arrival, said All Might as Namu had got up once again ready to brawl as the two combatants did not hold back. Meanwhile, thinking now was a good time to sneak up and attack him, Tamura waited for the perfect opportunity to get the jump on All Might and finally kill him. However, he only was able to go as far as sticking only one leg out, before he took an arrow to the knee before he fell back in pain, screaming at the top of his lungs. Tamura, that's enough. I'm calling an end to this right now, said Kurogiri as he began to slowly warp the two away from today's battle, as Tamura had shifted his gaze from between All Might still fighting against Namu and Midoriya as he glared at him just as Isabel, Archerhood, and Sharpshooter appeared on scene. We will meet again, said Tamura, as Midoriya had already been in the situation before, meaning he was not thrilled for whenever their next encounter will be. Oklahoma smash, shouted All Might as he yeeted Namu as far away as he could just as the cavalry had finally arrived to clean up the mess. Time skip. with today's class being a bust in one way and yet also a success in another. The students waited patiently outside the training building, waiting to return back to school and go home. However, things were not looking entirely good for Midoriya, as shortly after Recovery Girl had helped out Aizawa, he immediately requested that Midoriya had presented himself in front of him. "You wanted to see me, sir?" asked Midoriya, as the man was in the process of getting his body covered in gauze when Midoriya finally showed up. "I gave it some hard thought, and I've decided that you'll be suspended from school for the next 2 weeks, starting tomorrow," said Aizawa, as this was something Midoriya feared he might say. I understand, sir," said Midoriya, as he knew he broke his promise, even if it was for good reasons. But still, it really sucked for Midoriya for trying to do the most heroic deed he had stored under his sleeve. "All right then, that'll be all," said Aizawa, as he finally let the paramedics carry him away, as Midoriya stood there with his head hanging in shame as Iroha stood by his side and hugged him tight. "You think it was just having Aizawa suspend that boy for attempting to use the quirk of one of his summons to not only save their current situation, but also the situation of some of his classmates from yesterday?" asked Present Mike. "Really, if you think about, even if it's not a quirk he can directly control, that is still a powerful quirk that should never be known as public knowledge, especially towards a group of enemies that refer to themselves as the League of Villains," said Midnight. "Still, wouldn't you wish you had a quirk that powerful at your disposal, to just simply reset and turn back time where you can fix and learn from your mistakes without having to bear such heavy consequences in the future?" said Present Mike, as he and Aizawa personally share a regret that they still think about every now and again, wishing for a way to go back and prevent it all. There's no denying that there isn't a single hero out there who doesn't wish they had a power like that at their disposal. However, it really makes our judgment to teach these personal life lessons as nothing, and creating a very false sense of hope and safety for anyone to continue living on with their lives, said Midnight, as she, like many heroes, have regrets of their own in the line of duty. With nothing more than to discuss about what happened today with the authorities, Midoriya would finally go home, tell his mom what happened and the punishment he had received for his deeds, before calling it a night and thinking about his most recent actions and what he can do to make himself stronger without having anyone else getting hurt on his watch. Like he was told a few days ago, Midoriya had been temporarily suspended from school since he nearly revealed the power of definitely one of his more powerful maidens, even if his reasons were not without merit. And while he could, spend this whole time to travel 2 weeks into the future, even if it's a few hours at a time, Midoriya actually took his sensei's words to heart and decided he was better off growing up as a person. In more ways than one mind, since he figured he can't necessarily spend all his time playing mobile games, or ask his mom for pocket money to help invest in his power, even though she'd do it in a heartbeat. No, instead young Midoriya found himself working a part-time job of working as a loader boy between 3 store locations, one that focused on selling bento boxes at convenience stores, another that sold All Might brand and shaped snacks, and finally a place that did computer parts. Granted, a lot of them were under the same job app, with opportunity hours being very unorthodox as a means for anyone who needs to earn a quick buck to jump on the opportunity. Plus, jobs like these only last about an hour at most, pushing to an hour and a half. But still, the payout was fair and enough for Midoriya to focus on investing on himself, and some of his maidens went out on the field. "Well, you guys did it once again, kid. Honestly, I'm admiring the hustle you and your maidens do for us," said the loading dock supervisor. "It's really nothing. I'm just glad to be given the opportunity to help," said Midoriya. "Don't lose that humbleness. With an attitude like that, you're guaranteed to be a great hero someday," said the supervisor. "Thank you, sir. Until next time, take care," said Midoriya as he waved the man off and headed off the campus with Iroha in tow. "So, Iroha, what do you want to do for being my little helper and being so patient?" asked Midoriya. "I'd really like to go get some ice cream, please," said Iroha. "Sure thing. Let's look for an ice cream parlor. or the nearest convenience store, said Midoriya as he took Iroha's hand as they were off to get a treat before heading back home. Stalking them from a safe distance were a couple of familiar-looking rogues. We're really gonna go after this kid again, said Needles in a bored-af manner. The boss is interested in this kid as much as Soundwave. For other reasons, mind you, said Calypso. I'm just saying, I'm not interested in getting my ass handed again by the same punk as before, said Needles. Be that as it may, we got our orders, and besides we don't have to lift a finger this time around, and are merely observing him, said Calypso as the duo spotted Midoriya and Iroha entering inside a convenience store. That's our cue. Hey Irish exit. The little punk with the green curly hair entered inside the local convenience store. Over here on 3rd and Hanamura, said Calypso as she called in their ace. Roger that. He's gonna be in a world of surprise once me and Miss Monster Bull come in, said the voice of a man with a thick Irish accent. Back inside the convenience store, Midoriya and Iroha just finished selecting their ice cream and a copy of this week's issue on Superhero Informer. All right, dude, how'd you like to pay? Cash or card? Asked the store employee. Mobile, said Midoriya as he began to pull out his phone to pay for his things, when suddenly the front door to the store began to flash and glow in a sickly oil-based colors of the rainbow. What the heck's going on? Said Midoriya out loud as he saw a blur ran up and pinned him to the wall. Hello again, said Monster Bull as she held Midoriya arms apart and stared at him rather apathetically. Crap. Gotta call in reinforcements, thought Midoriya as he attempted to use his right hand, which was still holding his smartphone, to call in another maiden to aid them. But Monster Bull wasn't having it as she snatched and tossed it overhand. Oh no, no way in hell I'm gonna let you call in the cops this time around, said Monster. Let go of my Oni-chan, said Iroha as she ran up ready to perform her signatured axe kick. But Monster Bull merely dragged Midoriya towards her and used his body to push her back on the ground. Don't get involved, Squirt. Some of us don't enjoy hurting kids, said Monster Bull as Iroha stared at her angrily. Iroha, please run, pleaded Midoriya. Listen to your Oni-chan and beat it already. Because this is goodbye, said Monster Bull before knocking the wind out of Midoriya and dragging into the portal. She came from leaving Iroha alive and alone as she watched Midoriya being taken away by the Edas. You all right, kid? Asked the employee as a means to comfort the young maiden. But it was all for naught as Iroha had the resolve to do anything and everything she can to search for Midoriya. Picking up his phone off the ground, Iroha ran out the convenience store and proceeded to make a few phone calls. Please pick up, pleaded Iroha as she waited for the first person she called to pick up his phone. Damn it, Deku. This better be important, noob. I'm still in school like everyone else, and I'm trying to enjoy my lunch, yelled Bakugo as this startled Iroha a little, even though she should be used to his brash reaction. Bakugo Oni-chan, it's me Iroha, said Iroha. Iroha? Shoot, sorry for yelling at you like that. I thought you were that noob Deku. Speaking of, where the hell is he? Am I on speaker, and is he setting you up to this? Asked Bakugo. No, he's not here. They took him away, said Iroha as her voice was starting to break a little. Who? Who took him away? Asked Bakugo. Those bad people who fought us after school. They came back and took Midoriya Oni-chan away, said Iroha as she finally stopped to talk things out as her feelings were finally breaking through. Please, I'm scared. I don't know where they took him or what they're gonna do to him. I'm afraid they're gonna hurt him. Please, Bakugo Oni-chan, I need your help, pleaded Iroha as she desperately tried to hold back her tears. Now normally this was Bakugo's cue to act cynical and yell at her to call the cops first and foremost and let them deal with rescuing Midoriya. However, he just hated hearing how sad Iroha was, and in spite of how it irks him that Midoriya will probably surpass him if he decides to step up and be able to control his maidens, he honestly can't let him die. Not until he's at least beaten the strongest maiden he possibly has. So sitting back in the school's mess hall, he laid down his utensils and let out a deep breath. Iroha, I need you to listen to me. I need you to go wait at the noob's house for now. I'm going to come over right now with some competent human meat shields, and we're going to rescue that jackass Deku. Sound good, said Bakugo, as he could only hear Iroha crying at this point. Hey, there's no time to cry right now. You can cry once we've rescued the noob. Now get your ass home already. I'll be there in like 20 minutes, Bakugo, as he hung up his phone and went to gather up the rescue party. Hey, red-haired bastard, and the girl who can control gravity. Put your forks down and follow me, said Bakugo. Okay, what's this about, man? Asked Kirishima. It's that noob Deku. He's been kidnapped by those Eda's punks, explained Bakugo, as Ochako knew what he was talking about and Kirishima had an idea what they were heading into. Are you serious, Bakugo? Asked Ochako. Dead serious. I just got off the phone with Iroha. Those bastards literally kidnapped the noob without his phone and left her by herself, said Bakugo as he began to furrow his brows. I don't know who these Eda guys are, but you can count me in. I'm with you, buddy, said Kirishima. Me as well. I can't imagine what Iroha is going through right now, said Ochako. Then get your keisters off your seats and let's get a move on already. We need at least one more man to join us. And the fact I have to ask him to do me this favor just pisses me off to no end, said Bakugo, as he led them towards where Todoroki was sitting, as he was enjoying lunch with Tenya and Yaoyorozu. Hey, half and half bastard, get your ass over here. We need you for a second, man, said Bakugo, as the trio looked up from the plates. Bakugo, you're being rude once again, especially during lunchtime, scolded Tenya. Butt out, you four-eyed bastard. This doesn't concern you, said Bakugo. Okay, I'll play along. What do you guys need me for, asked Todoroki. Not here between the two tryhards. Just come with me along the way, and I'll fill you in on the details, said Bakugo. Excuse you, but there's no need to be rude to Yaoyorozu here. She's done nothing to receive such rude treatment from you, said Tenya. Tenya, please just calm down and let them be. I'm pretty sure whatever it is Bakugo needs from Todoroki here is nothing for us to worry about. And as he said, doesn't involve us, said Yaoyorozu. You heard her. Now let's go already, said Bakugo as Todoroki got up from his seat and shot a quick glance to his classmates he was dining with before he continued to follow Bakugo. Okay, you got me away from them. Now mind telling me what's this all about, asked Todoroki. It's that noob Deku. He's gotten himself in trouble with the Edas again and needs us to rescue his dumbass, explained Bakugo. Are you serious, said Todoroki. Dead serious now, come on. As much as I hate to admit it. We need your help with this one, said Bakugo. Hold on, if that's true. Then we should notify the teachers immediately and call the authorities to deal with it, said Todoroki. We can't do that, said Bakugo. What do you mean we can't? We're not licensed heroes, and we can't be ditching school because you're itching to fight, said Todoroki. This has nothing to do with me wanting a rematch, said Bakugo. Then tell me what this is about then, demanded Todoroki. This is about a little girl who's at home crying her heart out waiting for me to come over and let her know that everything is fine, and that I'm going rescue her noob of a master. Because right now she needs a hero, and to her, I'm the hero that comes to her mind, explained Bakugo. Now you can either shut up and come with us, or stay here and do whatever. Just know that you truly surprised me today, you half and half bastard, that you're as big as a friggin' wuss like those two tryhards you were having lunch with, said Bakugo, as he began to lead the Kirishima and Ochako to Midoriya's place to pick up Iroha and make up a plan. Taking a minute to consider the words that Bakugo had said to him, Todoroki opted to follow them with whatever half-ass plan he had schemed for them, as he left a calling card for anyone to later catch up with them. Time skip. Upon arriving at the Midoriya residence, the group of 4 teens were gathered in the living room with Iroha as Inko was gathering tea for everyone. So tell me, Squirt, who took the noob and where did they go, asked Bakugo. It was that very fast lady who beat Tenya Oniai-chan. She came through the front door of the store. But it was different, explained Iroha. Different how? Asked Todoroki. Like it wasn't normal, like she walked through from it instead of outside and ran back through it with Midoriya Onii-chan, said Iroha. Sounds to me whoever this person was, they have warping quirk, said Kirishima. Or at least someone who has a warping quirk. Which makes it that much harder to find Midoriya, said Todoroki. Damn it. This is starting to get more complicated than it needs to be, jeered Bakugo, as he began to pinch his temple. Here you kids go, said Inko as she had fresh tear marks staining her face. Thank you, Miss Midoriya, said Ochako. It's my pleasure, said Inko as she began to walk away from the group, as she didn't want to comment and pressure them. Though her reaction was pressuring enough. This is starting to get more difficult than it needs to be, sighed Bakugo. Agree. Which is why we should inform the authorities already, said Todoroki. Like I said, we don't need the cops nor some pro to get this mission rolling. I made a promise, and I plan to commit to it, said Bakugo, as he gently tousled Iroha's hair. Yeah, buddy, hate to break it to you. But neither of us have any quirks that fall on the lines of tracking, said Kirishima. But we do got the noob's phone. Maybe he's got one of those bitches who can help look for Deku, said Bakugo. While you may have a reasonable epiphany, you don't know if it's that simple. I mean, for all we know, maybe we need Midoriya present and holding that phone in order to summon any of his maidens, said Todoroki. Well, let's find out already. Hey, Squirt, unlock the noob's phone and pick out someone who's good at tracking, said Bakugo, as he handed the phone to Iroha, as she was able to do what he instructed. Except that they were unfortunately unable to summon any additional support. Damn it, jeered Bakugo. So we're back to square one. Now what? Asked Kirishima as Bakugo was honestly out of ideas and was ready to just go search for the Edas around the city at random. However, fate intervened when they heard a knock on the door. I'll get it, said Inko, as she was not mentally prepared to be greeted by the number one hero. All Might, exclaimed Inko, as the four students popped their heads out to see the hero they all idolize, and now fear since he is a teacher now. Greetings, Miss Midoriya. I apologize that my arrival couldn't have been a more pleasant visit. But I have my duties as an instructor. So if you'd be so kind to let me in, said All Might. Yes, come in, said Inko, as she allowed everyone's hero to step in and greet the four truants with a crusade. So students mind telling me why you'd be ditching school in the middle of the day? Surely there should be a good reason, asked All Might. Hey Bakugo, I think now's our one chance to confess and be straight man, said Kirishima as Bakugo began to visibly sneer. Okay, we'll fill you in. But first you got to tell us how you managed to find us here, asked Bakugo. Very well. Your fellow students Tenya and Yaoyorozu informed me after young Todoroki here left them a calling card something was afoot, explained All Might. You are officially on my shit list along with that four-eyed bastard. You know that, said Bakugo as he turned his head to Todoroki. Bakugo, maybe now's a good time to tell All Might what's going on now, said Ochako. And exactly what is going on, asked All Might. Well, in case you haven't noticed, the noob and super fan Deku isn't here with us, said Bakugo. I did notice, and I was going to ask that before we leave. Why, where is he? Asked All Might. That's the thing, sir. Izuku, Midoriya has been kidnapped by the Edas, said Ochako. What? Those no-good hooligans. What are they hoping to achieve by doing something so dastardly as kidnapping such an upstart, an outstanding young man, said All Might. Look, I don't know the full story why those bastards want the noob so bad. But he's clearly pissed them off, and they're not going to stop until they have their revenge. Which is why we're here, trying to make a plan and rescue the village idiot, said Bakugo. While your intentions are indeed admirable, I simply can't let you kids face off the Edas by yourselves. Not the way how you're approaching it. And not in your current states as students, said All Might. Please, All Might, it's my fault, spoke up Iroha. What do you mean, little Iroha? Asked All Might. I called them to come here, because I didn't know who to turn to. And I know that if Kaken or anyone else here for that matter was in trouble, Midoriya Onii-chan would be out there searching for them. So please let us help you, pleaded Iroha. taking a long minute to silently ponder and think about what Iroha was requesting for. All Might looked at the group of teens before him as he made his declaration. "If I'm not mistaken, you're a maiden of young Midoriya, correct?" asked All Might. "Yes," responded Iroha. "And that means you have a special connection with young Midoriya. So I guess I can't just say no, as you're invaluable to him. And in spite of your being, you're still a little girl who requires supervision," said All Might. "Young Bakugo," little Iroha said, "you're only here because she called you, and therefore obviously trusts you," asked All Might. "That's right," said Bakugo. "And you invited those present because you trust them, correct?" asked All Might. "No, I'm not naive to go in and fight an unknown threat alone, especially after I've dealt with these jerkwads. Though honestly, I trust this half and half bastard a whole lot less now," said Bakugo. "I see. Well, I guess I've got no choice but to allow you kids to join along with me in rescuing young Midoriya," said All Might. "Wait, are you for real?" asked Kirishima. "Yes, 'cause I can't be focused on making sure little Iroha is to remain out of harm's way while I attempt to rescue young Midoriya and deal with the Edas. And nor can I leave young Bakugo to chaperone her alone as we deal with the Edas. So like it or not, you kids are on board in rescuing young Midoriya," said All Might. "Yes, sir. We'd be honored to join," said Ochako. "Woo hoo, we're officially going on a hero outing with the #1 hero, guys," cheered Kirishima. "Yeah, that's fine. But we still need to track down the noob," said Bakugo. "Give me a minute to call a friend. The Etas shouldn't be too hard to find. Until then, I suggest you kids suit up," said All Might. "You heard the guy? Let's suit up," said Kirishima. "Last I checked, we never had time to acquire our hero costumes," said Todoroki. "We do have our gym uniforms," pointed Ochako. "Then let's get change already," said Bakugo as he began to remove his shirt. "Hold on. At least give me a chance to exit the room," exclaimed Ochako with a blush. "Miss Midoriya, sorry to disturb you, but think I can borrow a room to change?" asked Ochako. "Yes, follow me, dear," said Inko as she led her to her own room. "Okay, so we're still set to rescue Midoriya, and we get to fight alongside with All Might. This has got to be the best day ever," said Kirishima. "Shut up and get change already. And you cover your eyes already, squirt," shouted Bakugo. "Oh, sorry," said Iroha as she did as instructed as soon everyone was suited up, and All Might was all set with their lead to rescue Midoriya. "All right, kids, let's get going. The police have long since figured out the location of the Edas, which means that they themselves know and don't care, which raises the stakes," said All Might. "All Might, please save my boy. I don't know what I'd do if any harm would befall on him," said Inko. "I swear to you that I will not fail in rescuing your boy, madam. I promise you that much," said All Might. "Children, let's head out," said All Might. "Yes, sir," shouted the group of teens. Elsewhere. Waking up in a dark, dim-lit room on the ground, we see that Midoriya had his hands and legs duct-taped together as Soundwave began to approach him alongside her boss. "You've got 7 minutes to settle your grievances without killing him," said the leader of the Edas as Soundwave began to crack her knuckles. "Make a wish, dirt bag," said Soundwave as she delivered strong kick to Midoriya's gut before she proceeded to stomp at his body. Eventually, she'd settle towards punching his face a few dozen times, and even stomped him in the nuts at least twice before her time was up. "Soundwave, that's enough. You've had your revenge. Now leave," said the Eda leader as Soundwave spat on Midoriya's face for good measure before leaving the two alone. "Sorry that you've got your ass handed to you like that. But hey, the way she was obsessing over getting revenge over you, she'd probably have fucked you after a good beating. No joke, her kinks are getting into a serious beatdown before she beats the first man she sees off," said Eda leader with a smirk. "Anyways, my more level-headed associates have told me you have this unique quirk to summon heroes as you like. One of them having something as powerful as being able to manipulate and control time. And well, I'd really like to see that," said the Eda leader. Hearing these words really put an unnerving chill down Midoriya's back, as Aizawa had warned him about using Chronomancer for the longest time. and was starting to look back and count his blessings. He never got to use her during the attack at the USJ. So why not do us all a favor and bring her out? Hell, I'd actually like to meet these heroes you're able to summon, said the Eda leader as Midoriya now fully grasped the target he now had on his back. I can't, muttered Midoriya. Good point, it'd be a pain in the ass to summon some heroes all tied up and on the ground like that. Blink twice. Be a pal and bring us a chair, said the Eda leader. Coming from the corner of Midoriya's eyes, he saw a man who seems to appear and disappear with every step he takes as he brought a chair next to Midoriya before propping him up. There we go. Aren't you more comfortable now? Said the Eda leader as he took out a knife and began to cut the duct tape that was bounding Midoriya. See, I can be a very amicable guy, and even a friend if you were to be so kind and summon those heroes already, said the Eda leader as Midoriya stared into his bright white beady eyes. I can't. I promised my sensei to never summon Chronomancer again. Not anymore now, said Midoriya bravely. Oh, you promised your sensei now, huh? Well, he's not here, and there's no chance for you to tell on him about what you should be doing. Now let's stop wasting time and put on a show already, said the Eda leader as shadow-like tentacles began to sprout from his feet and sentient little blots popped from his shoulder, all making menacing gestures towards Midoriya. Do your worst. I'd rather die right here than summon any of my maidens before you, said Midoriya defiantly as the Eda leader lunged his arm and held a tight grip onto Midoriya's neck. Wrong answer, kid. You see, I try to be nice. I try to do things in a manner that doesn't make us look like a couple of psychos that camp around Slab City and prey on every innocent bystander that crosses their way, said the Eda leader as Midoriya was gagging for air. But now, you try to play the part of a martyring hero, which is by no means the ending you're getting here. Oh no, said the Eda leader as his obsidian hands began to infect Midoriya's neck, forcing one of those sentient blots he saw to pop out his mouth. You see, kid, you know it's funny. You have no idea who I am, do you? Well, I'll tell you now, kiddo. The name is Fear, and it truly reflects on my quirk just beautifully, said Fear, as the blot that came out of Midoriya's mouth had merged with him as he released his choke hold on Midoriya. You see, my quirk not only makes me look like the boogeyman's more badass, more scary-looking brother, but also enables me to harvest the knowledge of what you fear, but also make you relive it all tenfold, said Fear as his tentacles bound Midoriya in place before the villain began to open his mouth so far wide open that though he was going to eat Midoriya's head off. Instead, inside the glowing white abyss that was Fear's mouth, Midoriya looked inside to witness his biggest fear, and that was him never being able to manifest and awaken his quirk. The continued insults from Bakugo and his classmates, the discouraging and hopeless talks he heard from his teachers, guidance counselor, and worst of all coming from his own mother and his hero All Might. His heart raced and ached in pain, his eyes already crying tears of anguish, and his mouth letting out screams of despair and terror for the next 10 minutes before Fear finally released his grasp on Midoriya. Now are we going to be more compliant, or should we go for half an hour this time? Asked Fear as Midoriya was trying to compose himself after the near-reality terror he thought his life was heading towards. Go ahead and do your worst, gasped Midoriya, as this really irked Fear as he bent down and lifted the teen up by the collar of his shirt. You think I won't instill fear to you to the point you'd be edging very close to death, and I won't grant you that satisfaction day in, day out, 'cause I can play that game as long as you like till you're nothing but an obedient little bitch who'd be afraid to piss by himself. So do us all a favor and just submit already while you still have free will, and not waste my time, said Fear. Even if I wanted to, I can't, shouted Midoriya. The hell you mean you can't, demanded Fear. When you guys kidnapped me, you made the mistake of taking me here without my phone or Iroha. Since she's a maiden I have summoned from my phone, said Midoriya with a triumphant smile, as Fear began to leer at him angrily before throwing him to the ground. You think you're so smart? You think I can't have one of my guys download whatever it is you had on your phone onto theirs, or hell, even onto mine? asked Fear as Midoriya was trying to pick himself back up. I'll find that little girl who was with you in your phone. And trust me when I'm done torturing her. You'd be wishing you were a team player when you had the chance, said Fear, as the mention of harming Iroha really got Midoriya's blood hot. You stay away from Iroha, you hear me, said Midoriya as he got back on his feet and attempted to lunge towards Fear only to get sucker punched back to the ground by Blink twice. Seems we found this kid's weakness. Blink twice, watch over the kid. I might send Soundwave to have her way with him by all means. It seems I got another job for Irish Exit and Needles, said Fear. As Fear began to exit the room, he felt the building quake and shake to his concern. The hell is going on? Is Soundwave and the Sicho having another fight? Said Fear, only for the roof above him suddenly tore open as the number 1 hero crashes through and took a heroic pose. Surrender now, villain, and release the boy, 'cause this is going to get ugly, stated All Might as Fear began to back away from not All Might, but rather the some might he just brought into Eda's home. Do your worst. Eda's, get your asses over here, yelled Fear as one by one everyone began to gather into the room. Everyone take your time with him, Irish Exit. Let's go, said Fear as the 2 men rushed out the room. Oh no you don't, said All Might as he wasn't worried about the rest of the Edas, as the amount of speed and muscle mass he had was like trying to stop a freight train with their bare hands. Come on, we got to stop him, said Monster Bull as she tried to chase after All Might, but stopped when a wall of ice suddenly blocked her path. Remember us, you third-rate extras, exclaimed Bakugo. Heads up, guys. The explosive orange baby is here, said Soundwave, as this put a new tick mark on the demolition nut's head. Gah! I'm an explosive orange adult, goddammit, shouted Bakugo, as he flew himself towards Soundwave, as the 2 fired their best projectile attacks to one another. In the smoke and chaos, everyone made their way down the hole, where Todoroki promptly spotted Needles and froze him from the waist down. What the hell, said Needles as Kirishima rushed up to him, ready to deliver a punch to the guy's face, thinking he could back him off or better, even poison the red-haired teen. Needles sprouted his poisonous quills and expected to be the victor regardless of what happened. Instead, he felt like someone hit him in the face with a damn brick, knocking the man out and shattering all the quills on his face. Thanks, said Todoroki. No problem. That's what real men and real friends do, guy, said Kirishima as he gave Todoroki a thumbs up with his smile. Stomping their feet into the ground, a new member of the Edas appeared. A tall, muscular woman with a large purple mohawk, as the left side of her face had an Okami mask stitched onto her face, as she wore a ratty undershirt that was practically a shredded tube top from the trash can. But it did help emphasize her 6-pack abs that had her Eda symbol proudly tattooed onto her abdomen. So, what can she do, asked Kirishima. I'm not sure, she's new, said Todoroki, as this definitely changed their tactics. Stick her hand out. She began to manifest a fire axe, glowing in a red aura to appear from out of thin air. This can't be good, said Kirishima as he began to harden his body. Your sandpaper face will massage my kitty during me time, shouted the Sicho, as she charged the 2 teens ready to split Todoroki in half. But Kirishima stepped in and took the blow head on. Go on, buddy. I've got her, said Kirishima as he stared the Sicho in her eyes. Adobe bricks and nightly mouth will shatter under my mighty Les Paul, said the Sicho, trying to make a run for it. Todoroki was cut off by Monster Bull as she began to slam another can of energy drink. Gotta thank you for chilling my drink, bro, said Monster Bull as she tossed her can overhand. But that doesn't excuse the fact that I'm still gonna beat your ass into the pavement, said Monster Bull. You can try, but I'll gladly fight you, said Todoroki as he was looking forward to this rematch. Truth be told, the boys were serving as a distraction, so that Ochako can quietly swoop down with Iroha in her arms to search for Midoriya. Once they made it to the next room, the duo snuck their way towards the other side of the room as Ochako kept her eyes towards their 6. All right, Iroha. From here on we gotta be sneaky and quiet from this moment on, said Ochako in a hushed voice, as she looked behind them one more time. Yes, Ochako-one-chan, said Iroha, as they shimmied across the walls before slipping to the next room. Through chance they saw Izuku lying on the ground, as they saw a man wearing a black tank top with short spiky brown, black cargo pants, and various harnesses wrapped around his body, as he was tying Midoriya up with duct tape. Not one to back away from danger, Iroha ran head first and delivered a flying kick to the man's back, as he unceremoniously tumbled over. Stay away from my Oni-chan, stated Iroha. Iroha, what are you doing here? Exclaimed Midoriya in horror, as he knew that if any one of the Edas, especially Fear, were to get their hands on her, they'd be definitely doomed. Damn brat. That actually kind of hurt, you know, said Blink twice as he turned to face Iroha, as he was revealed to have sloppily painted the Eda symbol on the center of his tank top. Iroha, hurry up and get away from here, yelled Midoriya. Iroha, you said? Well, looks like you made our jobs hunting you down a whole lot easier, said Blink twice as he deactivated his quirk before Midoriya as he began to loom over Iroha, but quickly backed away when Ochako came flying through the door intent to kick the villain's head in. You keep away from Iroha, you creep, said Ochako bravely. Oh honey, you're gonna regret provoking me like that, said Blink twice as he was constantly blinking in and out of Ochako's line of sight as he charged towards her with what she thought was straight punch, but was really to feign her out and deliver a straight kick to the gut. As Ochako was trying to hold her guard up as much as her breakfast, Iroha wasted not time in undoing the bindings on Midoriya's arm as best as she could. Iroha, please hurry. Uraraka needs us to help her, said Midoriya as they were struggling to get his arms free. I'm trying, said Iroha as Midoriya looked up, and for once could perfectly see Blink twice, and the damage he was inflicting on Ochako. Ochako, jump back, ordered Midoriya as Ochako did as told, narrowly dodging a leg sweep. But Blink twice needed to lightly jump forward and tackled her back with his shoulder, something that was very reckless and easy to maneuver around, and yet Ochako couldn't see him coming. Ochako, keep your guard up, yelled Midoriya as Ochako put her arms up for another straight punch, but failed to see Blink twice delivering an uppercut, breaking through her defenses as he gripped her by her shirt and slammed her back to the wall. Ochako, are you all right? Asked Midoriya. I'll manage. He's impossible to see, yelled Ochako before Blink twice threw her over his shoulder, where she promptly landed hard on her back. Impossible to see. But I can see him, thought Midoriya as he had the realization of how this man's quirk works, and how its biggest flaw is how it can only perceptively fool one person at a time, hence why he couldn't see him before, but perfectly sees him now. Almost got it, exclaimed Iroha happily as they removed the duct tape off Midoriya's wrist. Thank you. I'll get the duct tape off my legs myself. Iroha, please help Ochako, and please be careful. If he chooses to focus his quirk onto you, you'll have a hard time seeing him, said Midoriya. On it, Oni-chan, said Iroha as she charged towards Blink twice again and slid on the ground and landed a straight kick to his knee, causing the man to stagger and drop down to one knee. You again, jeered Blink twice as he focused his quirk on Iroha, as evident by the surprised look on her face. Oni-chan, I can't see him, said Iroha worriedly as Blink twice was constantly flickering in and out of sight. Hold on, I'm coming, said Midoriya as he almost undid the binding on his legs as Blink twice was ready to reach for Iroha. And he did, but not before he was tapped on the leg by Ochako. Put the girl down, warned Ochako in her beaten state. Or what, scoffed Blink twice, only for the teenage girl to put her fingers together and force the man to suddenly float and loose his hold on Iroha. What the hell? Exclaimed Blink twice, just as Midoriya finally got loose. All right, let's get out of here already, said Midoriya as he got back on his feet again. Uraraka, hang on and keep your hold on him. I'm coming over to drag you out of here and get us some help, said Midoriya as Iroha finally returned his phone to him. You got it, said Ochako with a smile, only to realize how they both spoke too soon. since not only did she felt a sharp pain in her shoulder when Blink Twice had thrown a knife towards her, but Midoriya realized his phone's battery was at a quarter life and dropping. Being forced to release Blink Twice, the villain landed back on his feet and proceeded to not only remove the knife out of Ochako, but also proceeded to take her hostage with it. "Give up, kid, you lost. Now pocket that phone away and stay there till the boss man returns," said Blink Twice as he began to press his knife against Ochako's throat. "Stop. Please don't hurt her," pleaded Midoriya as he began to put his phone away and put his hands up. "That's good," said Blink Twice as he attempted to keep the fussy teen at bay. "Izuku, don't listen to him. Please hurry up and summon more maidens already," shouted Ochako. "Shut up before I shut you up for good," yelled Blink Twice. "Oni-chan, I'm scared for Ochako-1-chan," said Iroha as she looked up at her master with eyes that were losing hope. Seeing those eyes had triggered some recently harsh words that were exchanged between him and Bakugo, and the words of Aizawa about how he needs to find a way to get strong himself without relying on his maidens. He needed to go plus ultra right now. "Iroha, I'm sorry that you had to deal with such a weak master up until now. I thought that if I had more money to spend I could buy more slots to enable us to have more powerful tier maidens by my side and fight for me," said Midoriya as he began to drop his hands and lowered himself to Iroha's level. "But I've been going about this wrong. I should have listened to Aizawa-sensei and Kaken about making myself strong, so I wouldn't have to be put into situations like this. Put you guys into this very mess I made," said Midoriya as he looked up as Ochako as she was running on the last bit of steam, as Blink Twice remained intimidating. "So listen to me, Iroha. From here on out, your master is finally going to grow up and find his own strength to rely on. And the first thing I'm going to do is get both you and Uraraka out of here," said Midoriya. "And I'll be by your side, Oni-chan. You can always count on Iroha to be by your side," said Iroha as she went and hugged Midoriya, where something amazing happened. Instantly both Iroha and Midoriya began to glow in a bright light. The type of bright light only a light element maiden can produce, as it began to envelop the duo. Once the light shimmered down, the only thing Ochako and Blink Twice can see was Midoriya standing proudly in front of them, wearing a modified male uniform version of Iroha's outfit, meaning the only changes was the fact he was shirtless with only the vest serving to cover him. And instead of having a purple ribbon on the side of his head, he instead had both purple sunglasses and a purple tie loosely wrapped around his neck. And his dark green hair now had blonde frosted tips going at an inch length. "Izuku," said Ochako hopefully. "What the hell is going? What happened to the brat?" demanded Blink Twice as Midoriya kept his eye on the crook, while he slid his right leg behind to grab the chair he had been previously sat on and kicked it towards Blink Twice. Acting fast, Ochako bit down on the man's arm, forcing him to release his hold on the teenage girl and be left unprepared when the chair went and slammed into his face, putting him out for the count. "Uraraka, you all right?" asked Midoriya as he ran up to her. "I'll be fine. But you look great, Izuku," said Ochako as she smiled at the boy, making him feel flustered, but quickly broke from his trance when Ochako began to hiss in pain. "Uraraka," exclaimed Midoriya in worriment. "It's fine. The knife wound is a bit sensitive is all," said Ochako as she soon realized she was in Midoriya's arms. "Come on, let's get out of here before anyone else comes back," said Midoriya as he began to escort them both out of their current location. "Wait, where's Iroha?" "What happened to her?" asked Ochako. "She's still here with us. Or rather, we sort of just fused and became one, so even though she can't really communicate with her own voice, she can still listen to our conversation," explained Midoriya. "So how long were you able to fuse with your maidens like this?" asked Ochako. "Honestly, this is a first, and I should definitely do my homework about this new ability I have. But for now we should leave while my phone still has battery," said Midoriya as halfway across the room he saw a stream of ice nearly blocking their way. "Wait, you didn't come here by yourself?" asked Midoriya. "That's right. I meant to tell you some of our classmates, including All Might, are here, said Ochako. Wait, All Might is here. And he came to rescue me, asked Midoriya, as his voice began to get shrill over the excitement that his hero was hero. Yeah, he's here somewhere, but he'll be fine. Honestly, you should check on the guys on the other room, said Ochako. Will you be fine by yourself here? Asked Midoriya. Just prop me over on that wall there, and don't let anyone break through and accidentally crush me, said Ochako with a smile. All right, sit tight. I'll be back, said Midoriya as he gently set Ochako down and hopped into the other room, ready to take part in the ass-kicking. Speaking of, Todoroki was starting to feel fatigue for overusing his left side too much. Hence why his body was starting to cover up in frostbite. You look like you're ready to kill over, which is ironic. Since you're the same guy, how you're mentally tougher than you are physically, and could take the pain, said Monster Bull smugly, as she too was starting to pant after constantly dodging and attempting to attack the teen. I can still fight. The question is, do you have enough energy drinks to keep going? Asked Todoroki defiantly as Monster Bull glared at him and pulled out her second-to-last can and was ready to chug it down in a second. This never came as Midoriya came jumping into the scene and not only kicked the can out of her hand, but also performed a 180 back kick to Monster Bull's face, knocking her to the ground long enough, just so that Todoroki could freeze her in place. Midoriya, you're okay, commented Todoroki as Midoriya was not only kicking ass, but wearing a very familiar set of clothes. Yeah, I'm good, and sorry for causing this much trouble for your guys, said Midoriya. It's fine, just glad to see you okay. Though where's Ochako? Asked Todoroki. She's in the other room. She's a bit beat for trying to save me, said Midoriya before Todoroki stepped forward and shielded them both from the incoming blast from both Bakugo and Soundwave. At least she's okay, for now. We should help our friends out, said Todoroki as he peeked his eyes back towards Kirishima and saw how the Shicho had put him in a headlock and was attempting to stab him in the chest repeatedly with a knife. But Kirishima was quick to react and harden his chest, as the knife broke into pieces of metal shards with each stab. You're gonna have to try a lot harder than that, said Kirishima in an all-cocksure tone before the Shicho lifted him over her head and yeeted him across the room. The weight of the earth will fall under the kiss of my plunger, said the Shicho, as she began to manifest a baseball bat covered in razor blades. Yeah, I'm gonna go help Kaken. Think you can manage things with Kirishima? Asked Midoriya. Of course. Now let's move, said Todoroki. With his newly added Parker skills, Midoriya used his surrounding area to get up at a higher level and assist his hero in this mission, as Soundwave remained oblivious towards his presence. You're pretty tough, said Bakugo. Not so bad yourself, said Soundwave as both parties were sweaty and looked pretty ragged and beat. Deku, yelled Bakugo as this caused Soundwave to turn her head back to see that Midoriya was not only up in her face, but had his leg up high over his head like a certain little maiden. Axe kick, shouted Midoriya, who was fortunate enough to not have lost his balance as he used Iroha's signature attack to slam Soundwave's head into the ceiling ground hard enough that she was pretty much out for the count. Deku, you noob, the hell are you doing? Yelled Bakugo as he got up in Midoriya's face with his hands crackling. Wait, why are you mad at me for? Said Midoriya as he began to back away from the explosive orange baby. I had things under control, and like a total noob, you not only took my kill, but you did it after I softened her up, you jerkass, said Bakugo. I'm sorry. I thought you needed help, said Midoriya. You're the one who needs help here. And if it wasn't for that squirt, I wouldn't be here busting my ass to save yours. Speaking of, where the hell is she, and why the hell are you dressed like her? Asked Bakugo. It's a long story, man. But she's okay. Though I think we should focus on helping Kirishima and Todoroki, said Midoriya. Hell no. Let the half-and-half bastard settle his own fights by himself, said Bakugo as Midoriya was just going to jump into the fray and not even bother argue with his savior, only to see that bother Kirishima and Todoroki had things under control. Back on the ground, Kirishima still stood tall on his own 2 feet, in spite of the beating he was taking. And while his quirk did left him relatively protective, even there was a limit as evident by how his arms were cracking in a bad way and showed some smaller cuts forming. General Brick Wall Jackson has proven his fort can't be penetrated by tooth spears and meat tricycles, said the Shicho. Yeah, and I'm still standing, said Kirishima, as he was oddly enough starting to understand what she was saying to him. Still, as she was focused on trying to break him, Kirishima spotted Todoroki coming from behind, and while he was starting to look very haggard, mainly due to his quirk, he still seemed determined to help. Once they locked eyes, Kirishima nodded at Todoroki to do his thing as he launched one final wave of ice to immobilize the Shicho from the ankle down, as this threw her off guard. The cold never bothered me anyways, shouted the Shicho as she turned and pointed towards Todoroki as Kirishima came up and smacked the bat out of her hand before he delivered a 5-hit combo at her. Geez, I thought I'd never get a chance to nail her. Thanks man, said Kirishima as he left himself wide open from one last attack from the Shicho, as she pulled him in close and headbutted the red head, where they both fell back. Kirishima, are you okay? Asked Todoroki as he knelt by his side. Yeah, but oh dude, she really packs a punch, said Kirishima. We can say the same thing about you, said Todoroki, as he turned his head back to see that the Shicho knocked herself out in her desperate last attack. Guys, are you okay? Asked Midoriya as he and Bakugo descended down to check on them. Yeah, we're good. Also digging the new look, said Kirishima. Thanks. This is Iroha's actually, explained Midoriya. That reminds me. Where is the squirt? Asked Bakugo. Oh well, to make a long story short, we sort of fused together, said Midoriya. Wait, you saying that you and Iroha became one? Asked Todoroki. Yeah, but we can all talk about that later. For now we got to find All Might and get Ochako some help, said Midoriya. No need to worry, young Midoriya. Everything is fine now, came the booming voice of All Might. And it seems you kids managed to capture some of the Eda members. Good job, said All Might. Yeah, thanks for leaving us to do the heavy lifting when we're supposed to find the noob here, said Bakugo with venom. Yeah, sorry about that. For now, let's get young Ochako out of here. The paramedics and police are waiting for us outside, said All Might. But sir, what happened to Fear? You know the leader of the Edas, asked Midoriya, as he knew he was definitely wanted by that man, and knew what he was capable of. Fear not. Their leader Fear has been captured, and will be sent to Tartarus. No questions asked, said All Might. I don't think so, said Fear, as this got everyone's attention, as they saw the leader of the Edas in his full Sombra Sapien form, as he wore a dark yellow button-up and black pants, as he sentient phobias angrily looked at All Might. You may have captured some of my best men, but not all of my men. So go ahead and enjoy your victory, said Fear as Irish Exit's portal began to form behind the leader of the Edas. And next time, boy, I will capture you and force you to summon whatever power your maidens carry. So get stronger for me, 'cause I'll be waiting, said Fear. You bastard, said All Might as he attempted to knock Fear out with his bare fists once more. But all the dastardly villain needed to do was fall backwards, as the portal instantly closed. Damn it. I can't believe I let him escape on me like that, jeered All Might, as this had to be a first-time blunder for him. For what it's worth, sir, some of these guys have some dangerously awesome quirks, said Midoriya. I suppose so. All right, let's get these criminals into the hands of the authorities and get you kids some medical attention, said All Might. In the aftermath, Midoriya and Iroha managed to split because his phone died and was thankful there was no long-term damage towards Iroha. Though they did learn she was weaker than the average citizen when out like this and Midoriya's phone being dead. But more importantly, the police and the school had to elaborate a tall tale, since what All Might did was severely reckless, and what the 4 teens of UA did was pretty much illegal. So they all came to an agreement that these 4 teens were merely ditching school for the day and happened to be caught up in one of All Might's mission by coincidence, while Midoriya was left scot-free because he was technically kidnapped and held hostage. So the verdict was this: All Might was just doing his job as a hero trying to keep his students safe, while the 4 students who ditched school were given a 2-day suspension and had to write an essay on ditching was wrong. And yet everyone was happy and accepted how things were, since they took these 2 days off to heal their wounds, with only Ochako receiving stitches. That weekend, those who were involved fighting the Edas, past and present, got together over the weekend and enjoyed some post-victory burgers and milkshakes. The day had finally arrived where every student at UA Academy was heavily anticipating for, be it the finance course students, the hero support course students, and especially the hero course students. And that was of course the sports festival, as it was the largest televised event not only in Japan, but also across the world, like the Olympics or the Football World Cup, as nothing says a high-octane sporting event than seeing students beating the shit out of each other for the entertainment of the masses. "Hello there, ladies and gentlemen," shouted Present Mike over the paw, as he relished in the roaring screams of those present to witness this year's event. "Welcome to another glorious year on another glorious day here at UA Academy. I'm your main host with the most, the MC you want to be, Present Mike," said Present Mike, as he also appreciated the roaring applause he got from the spectators. "And with me on color commentary is my bestie for the rest of my life, Eraserhead," said Present Mike. "Dear God, I don't get paid enough to do this," said Aizawa as he massaged his temple. "We'll be narrating the foreplay that's going on today, as we all witness this year's epic sports festival club," said Present Mike, as the crowd continued to cheer and roar in adulation. Back on the ground level, all the students began to warm up and otherwise psyche themselves up to whatever challenges before them. Unique, you need New York. Unique, you need New York. She cooks a proper cup of coffee in a copper coffee pot. She cooks a proper cup of coffee in a copper coffee pot. I sit and slid on a sheet. I sit and slid on a sheet, said Kirishima as he was in the midst of cracking his bones and loosening up. "Shut the fuck up already, redhead," yelled Bakugo. "Bakugo, how many times must I tell you not to be disrespectful and swear towards your classmates? Much less in front of a child," said Tenya angrily as he had rushed over to cover Iroha's ears. "Up yours, you four-eyed bastard," said Bakugo as he and Tenya continued to argue, leaving everyone to ignore the scene they were causing. "Glad to know that everything and everyone is still the same while I was gone," said Midoriya with a smile. "Well, I wouldn't say that entirely. I mean, security did get a little tighter while you were gone, and after our time with the Edas. We've all grown a little here and there," said Ochako. "Agreed. Bakugo is less aggressive these days, and has definitely refrained from calling us either a prick or bastard every now and again," said Todoroki. "I hear you talking about me, you half and half jerk," shouted Bakugo. "I see," said Midoriya as Midnight finally stepped into the spotlight to announce the first round. "Get set, students, 'cause we'll be starting this school festival with a marathon outside and around the school where we've laid down a large plethora of obstacles that'll be difficult to maneuver. But that's kind of the point, isn't it?" said Midnight. "And don't forget there's a set time limit. So hurry up and try to get to the finish line before time's up. And remember, depending on your placement, may depends on what we'll have in store for you next round," said Midnight as everyone got in their place. "On your mark, get set, go," shouted Midnight as all the students began to ran through such a narrow checkpoint like canned tuna, while those who were mobile enough were able to make it out the tunnel with no problem. Meanwhile, Midoriya began to summon forth Ragnarok, as she stood at attention in front of Midoriya, while getting some attention from the spectators on the ground level. "What is your command, master?" asked Ragnarok. "Ragnarok, you and I are going to combine. That is, if you'd allow me," said Midoriya. "If that's you wish, then let's do it," said Ragnarok as she began to erupt in a bright, passionate flames before she began to consume Midoriya in it, as this brought some concern to everyone who was witnessing this at the stadium or even on the TV. Finally, the flames had been snuffed, and standing in Ragnarok's outfit was Midoriya. Difference was that he was wearing a combat mankini, His hair was straight and long. His eyes were now violet, and the accenting color to the metal plating of Ragnarok was now green instead of blue. Let's fly. And do this quick before my mom has to see me like this, Midoriya said before he finally took flight and left the arena like a bat out of hell. I don't know how to describe as to what I just saw, people. Maybe my co-host can shed some light. I mean, he is your student, right? Asked Present Mike. Izuku Midoriya. He's got this rare quirk of being able to summon these maidens from this old mobile game called Valkyrie Crusade. And depending on their level and rarity, he could summon as high as 5 maidens, but normally keeps one presently by his side. A little girl named Iroha, said Aizawa. You mean that little girl that students and faculty have seen walking by his side at all times? Asked Present Mike. Correct. Though something tells me that the kid got stronger and found a way to finally fuse with his maidens to become one, said Aizawa, as a part of him was proud of Midoriya, was finally getting strong in a direct manner. Though only time could tell if this was a good thing or not. Speaking of this student of yours, Aizawa, we're just getting reports that he's almost at the finish line in a brand new record that this school has never seen before in a long time, said Midnight, as no later than 10 seconds later Midoriya finally came to a stalling halt as he stood in front of a crowded audience in utter silence. It's really not my fault. I'm dressed up to run the annual SF Bay to Breakers Marathon, thought Midoriya as he was ready to break free from fusing with Ragnarok. Something he was glad he learned to do before today's event. Suddenly, he was met with the roars of applause and cheer of the stadium goers as Midnight came up to the boy, not being able to wait to conduct an interview with this festival's shoe-in for to stardom. Amazing kid, you've managed to not only survive the first round by coming in first place, but you did that in astounding 29 seconds. I don't think we'll see anyone beat this record anytime soon, said Midnight. Also, I've got to say, kid, you've got some pretty big cojones for dressing so boldly like that, even though the Heroes Regulation Act forbids you to dress in such a thirsty manner, said Midnight, as she was not hiding the fact she was staring Midoriya up as she bit down her lower lip. Oh, thank you. And also, I'd just like to say sorry for dressing inappropriately. I really don't have control as to how I dress and look. Much less my maidens for that matter, said Midoriya. Really now? Asked Midnight as she found this bit of trivia to be interesting. Yes, it's like that for all my maidens. So if you don't mind, I'd like to split from her, said Midoriya nervously. Really, kid? 'Cause if you want, I can teach you the art of thirst trapping, even though I'd be mainly doing it for the eye candy, said Midnight jokingly, for the most part. Okay, go on, kid. I'd actually like to meet this maiden of yours closely, said Midnight as Midoriya finally split from Ragnarok, as they both stood side by side from each other. Wow, and you said she unfortunately can't change out of her clothes, asked Midnight, as she was jealous of being in love with this WMD. Yes, that's right, said Midoriya. Damn, if only I was 7 years younger, and they haven't passed that hero act. We'd be the most sexiest and famous R-rated hero duo the likes have yet to seen, said Midnight to Ragnarok, as she seldomly nodded before being switched out for Iroha. Did you win, Midoriya Onii-chan? Asked Iroha. Yeah, I did, said Midoriya happily, as he began to pull out his portable charger and began to charge his phone, while trying to avoid the attention he had acquired. Huh, looks like your student has great potential in the near future. You know, given the limitless power and appearances of his maidens, said Present Mike. That may be true, said Aizawa. Before this moment of pride and merriment could continue, Midoriya felt a sense of dread and danger, as he could faintly hear the sounds of explosions in the background. Deku, you noob, shouted Bakugo in bloody murder, as he was blasting himself to Midoriya with no sense of stopping. Ah, Kakin, said Midoriya nervously as Bakugo was now in the arena and looked like he was ready to strike Midoriya good as he came to a skidding halt as a large cloud of smoke surrounded the group. Once the smoke settled, it was revealed that Bakugo had averted his blast last minute as Iroha stood in front of Midoriya ready to shield him from harm's way. You motherfucking shit of a noob. Not only did you beat me in getting into first place with that WMD bitch maiden, but now you'd have the squirt as a shield from your well-deserved beatdown, said Bakugo angrily. Kaken Oniai-chan. No, said Iroha in Midoriya's place. Step aside, squirt, said Bakugo. No. Bah, you're not worth it this time. But come next round, your ass is grass, noob, said Bakugo as he stepped away from the duo. So Eraser Head. That's also one of your students, right? Asked Present Mike, only to see his co-host sitting far away and pretending to sleep, while mentally preparing to punish those two troublemakers for this when the tournament was over. Soon one by one students from Class 1A, 1B, and various other students from different courses finally made it to the arena before the time limit, as they now had the chance to participate in the next round. And time, people, out of all the students that managed to participate, only the first 42 have the lucky chance of participating into the next round, which will be a cavalry battle, announced Midnight. But as we mentioned earlier, based on the students' placements, changes how the game works, since students must fight for not only getting their opponent's headbands, but these headbands will have a point themselves on it. With the more points you collect, the higher you secure your spot into the final round, said Midnight. Wait, hold on. What does that mean? Midoriya asked out loud in a panic. And because our young superstar Shuin made it to first place, he has the honor of wearing this headband worth 10 million points. As you can see on the scoreboard, said Midnight as all the students who made saw what they scored overall, before they leered towards Midoriya as their free turkey dinner ticket if they want to make it to the next round. Oh pooh, said Midoriya in disbelief, as he felt truly alone in this competition, but felt reassured he can still win this with the light tug of Iroha on his arms. We can win this by ourselves, Midoriya Oniai-chan, said Iroha as Midoriya smiled back. Yeah, we can, said Midoriya as he took out his phone and proceeded to not only fuse with Iroha, but summoned 3 new maidens to aid him in this upcoming battle. The first maiden was a teenage girl, wearing a large green cloak over her green attire and spats, as she had hidden enough explosions under her cloak to blow up a 50-story tall building. She wore lime green and white-framed aviator goggles connected to her matching earmuffs, emerald green eyes, and chestnut brown hair. This was Grenadier. The second maiden was a pale-skinned young woman with long brain hair tied in braids as she carried a few blades on her left hip. However, what made her stood out was that fact, her black with red flame hem design Chinese dress that flashed her thighs. Her talisman-covered hat with an even larger parchment seal pinned on her face scared some people for obvious reasons. This was Jiangxi. Finally, the last maiden was a teenage girl wearing a gothic Lolita-inspired maid dress, fair skin, aqua blue eyes, and light green hair tied in twin tails with green-trimmed yellow ribbons that also had pink coral branches holding it together, as she had a jovial smile on her face, instead of having to share the same name to a very famous, but also very useless goddess that we all know and love. This was Aqua. With that being said, how about we all imagine this version of Aqua being voiced by her English dub Faye Mata, who, if you don't know and haven't met, is one of the most sweetest Vas out there, and is quite chic when it comes to rocking out Pokemon fashion and accessories. Something I don't normally say since I am Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist by heart, who may not believe in the heart of the cards, but still will tell you to get your game on. Now back to the story. Sweet. Master has finally chose to summon me for the first time, said Aqua happily. That goes for all of us, though, Master. You sure you want to put me out here? Asked Jiangxi. Yes, you have an amazing skill. All of you do. That'll ensure our victory. Especially since I've got this big target around my head. And after what happened last round with Kaken, I know for sure things won't be easy sailing, said Midoriya. Well, I guess we can't disappoint our master now. After being praised like that, said Grenadier, as they all circled around and lifted Midoriya up as they prepared for the next battle. All right, students, get ready for the cavalry race. Remember, whoever hastes the highest score can move to the next round. Quirks are allowed to an extent, so long as you're not maliciously trying to harm your opponents. Sounds good? Then let the games begin, proclaimed Midnight. Now girls, ordered Midoriya. Water of life, shouted Aqua as everyone, including Midoriya, began to glow as they felt an increase of attack power. Rigor mortis, said Jong, she too began to glow brighter as she prepared to be the ultimate wall for Midoriya with her defenses increasing up to 200%. Landmine, shouted Grenadier happily, as no matter how far or where the cavalry racers were coming from, everyone, and I mean everyone, felt a high passionate explosion to their face as everyone was blasted back by this random and unseen combustion. Whoa, stated Midoriya, as he wasn't blowing smoke up his maidens' asses when he said they were powerful. But he did not foresee everyone to literally be blown and knocked down on their asses from his attack. Well, most of everyone. Deku, yelled Bakugo as his team managed to survive the explosive blast in large part to Kirishima. Oh no, said Midoriya. You son of a bitch, I told you to never. And I mean never summon a single damn maiden who can use explosion damage like me. And yet here you are thinking you have the biggest dick on campus after winning first place last round, said Bakugo, as he was on the verge of frothing at the mouth. Well, here's a reality check, buddy. You're not the biggest man on campus. 'Cause even though I had promised myself to never deliberately go out and destroy your maidens, today I'm fixing to make an exception and delete those bitches for good, said Bakugo. Hey Kirishima, get your ass in gear and charge forward. I'm fixing to blast Midoriya's ass over Mount Fuji, said Bakugo. Funny, I actually had an uncle by the name of Rico who always threatened to toss me over Mount Fuji when he was throwing footballs in the backyard, said Kirishima as he was committed to help Bakugo in taking out Midoriya. Shut up. I didn't ask for your life story, said Bakugo. Right, let's go, said Kirishima as he led the charge head-on. Standing their grounds Jong, she met Kirishima head-on as they both locked in and head-butted one another on the ground. You're pretty tough, I'll give you that, said Kirishima. I've heard a lot of you too from Iroha. In fact, some of the other maidens kinda find you macho yet chivalrous attitude kind of hot, said Jongshi. Really? Wait, you're just trying to psyche me out, aren't you, said Kirishima. Not at all. If you want I can give you a few names, said Jongshi as she and Kirishima continued to chat amongst themselves, oblivious to the conversation, or really yelling and explosions overhead. Die already, you damn noob, shouted Bakugo, as he would attempt to blast Midoriya into cinders, as he completely forgot about the objective of grabbing his headband that would guarantee their victory. Kaken, calm down. You know me and Iroha are sharing the same body right now, said Midoriya, as in truth, without fusing with Iroha, he'd probably wouldn't have the strength or reflexes to parry and redirect Bakugo's attacks. Then eject her from your body, you damn lolican, yelled Bakugo. Bakugo, calm down. This is a game after all, said Mina as she tried to reason with their ace. But Bakugo wasn't going to listen for 1 second. Hey master, I think I can get us out of here if you'd allow me to strut my stuff, said Aqua with a hopeful smile. Please do it. Anything please, said Midoriya as she continued to redirect and counter Bakugo's attacks. Instantly, a torrent of water erupted between the two groups, giving them some much-needed space. Good job, Aqua. Now let's get going and try to avoid Kaken girls, said Midoriya. You heard him. Now do the bunny hop with me, said Jongshi as she wasn't joking, as Midoriya's party could only get away by literally prancing about like a horse girl. And no, I don't mean a centaur. I'm talking about those tween preppy blondes that drink Starbucks Frappuccino once a day, while they braid their hair and either draw pictures of horses and write horse poetry. You know who I'm talking about. And you know you are or were. What the hell is that idiot and those bitches are doing, demanded Bakugo. Looks like they're doing the bunny hop, said Kirishima. Yeah, it looks kind of fun, said Mina. Get your head out of your asses already. And let's get that noob, declared Bakugo, as he was dealing with a mad case of tunnel vision, as Shinsho fast passed him as he was riding on the backs of Ida, Ochako, Hatsune, and Takoyami. Thanks for the points, said Shinsho as he and his group went about on their merry way. Gah, that's it. We're going to focus on knocking these extras back on their asses. and then we'll get the noob and his bitches," yelled Bakugo as he felt enraged. He was caught with his pants down once more. "You do realize that you're also insulting and wanting to hurt Iroha amongst his group, you know," said Kirishima. "Shut up. I'd never want to hurt the squirt. But she's making it hard for me to teach that noob a lesson," said Bakugo. Elsewhere, Midoriya and his maidens were thankful for being able to Bakugo. But before long, they found themselves facing a new danger. "Hey master, hate to break the bad news to you, but we got some fast company heading our way," said Jung Shi as Todoroki and his group were coming towards Midoriya. "Brace yourselves guys, cause I'll get us out of this again," said Aqua as she was ready to blast another torrent of water to keep themselves safe, unaware of them falling right into Todoroki's trap. "Aqua, wait," exclaimed Midoriya, as it was too late since the moment Aqua launched her water attack towards Midoriya. Todoroki saw this as his chance to catch them in place, as he froze the water back, essentially freezing Midoriya and his team's right side. "Wow. And here I thought it was impossible for a corpse to have hard nipples," commented Jongshi. "Forget about your tits. This useless goddess here left us here standing like sitting ducks," said Grenadier, as she nudged her head to Aqua, who was completely frozen. "Girls, I think we should focus on Todoroki and his team approaching us," said Midoriya, as the group was mere feet away from them. "No worries, master, I came prepared," said Grenadier, as she began to lob over some frag grenades towards Todoroki, whose first instinct is to freeze it. But that didn't stop the explosions from combusting and covering the surrounding area in an icy fog, with even larger ice blocks surrounding the area. "Good thinking, Grenadier. Now let's go," said Midoriya. Master? What about Aqua?" said Zhang Shi as Midoriya quickly fixed their problem by literally punching the ice hard enough to set her free. "Brrrr, I'm freezing here," said Aqua, shivering in place as the group was ready to jet, but were greeted by the surprise appearance of Dark Shadow, as he had used the icy fog to sneak up and make an attempt on Midoriya's headband. But thanks to his quick reflexes and his strength, they were able to bat him away. "Don't think that'll be enough to deter me away from getting that headband of yours, Midoriya," spoke Dark Shadow, as Midoriya kept his guard up. "Midoriya, don't forget you've also got me to deal with," said Todoroki, as his face was starting to have patches of frostbite growing. "Deku, you noob. Your ass is grass, you punk," yelled Bakugo as he and his team had finally recouped the points they needed to move on, as they now focused their attention on Midoriya once more. Starting to panic, Midoriya was stumped as he couldn't see this ending well for him or his maidens since they were surrounded from all sides, and knew that his maidens had been taking a serious beating since the start of the cavalry race. "Master, just focus on keeping the sentient shadow away from getting that headband. I'll deal with vanilla ice cream," said Grenadier. "And I've got the explosive orange baby," said Aqua. "Gah! I'm an explosive orange adult, damn it," yelled Bakugo as he was ready to blast Aqua into nothing but raindrops. But the water goddess proved to be resilient and strong on her own, as she not only managed to snuff out Bakugo's explosion, but sent his group knocking back. Meanwhile, Grenadier managed to keep Todoroki and his group at bay as she tossed, lobbed, and rolled various types of explosions, his way that eventually his body was starting to hurt from all the frostbite clusters he's managed to collect. "Guys, we've got to retreat," ordered Todoroki between clenched teeth, as thankfully no one argued with him, as they all can tell he was in pain. And lastly, keeping true to his maiden's instructions, Midoriya stood his ground and kept Dark Shadow back by either viciously attacking him with punches and occasional kicks. "I've got to admit, you and little Iroha are pretty badass when working together," said Dark Shadow. "Thanks, I think you're pretty awesome yourself, Dark Shadow," said Midoriya. "I'll be sure to tell Takoyami that once he's snapped free from his hypnotism," said Dark Shadow. "Hypnotism? What do you mean?" asked Midoriya, as this was a clear red flag he definitely should know about. "Crap, I've got to go. But be careful of the guy we're carrying," said Dark Shadow, as he began to retreat himself all the way back to Takoyami as he was carrying Shinsho, who had just acquired Todoroki's headband. You're next, said Shinsho as he looked back at Midoriya with eyes of determination. Though it's kinda hard to tell given how he had that same dull baggy-eyed expression as Aizawa. Girls retreat, ordered Midoriya, as they would continue to hop away from just about everyone for the next 10 minutes, until the alarm blared signaling that against all odds, Midoriya and his maidens somehow survived the cavalry battle in spite of literally having the whole school, especially Bakugo, Todoroki, and Shinsho persistently being on their tail at all times. Oh god. It's over, Midoriya sighed in relief, as he and his maidens finally could relax. And we somehow managed to remain in first place again, said Iroha, as she stood by Midoriya's side. Yeah, what are the odds, said Midoriya, as he was ready to enjoy that 15-minute break before being able to participate in the finales. However, Midoriya had found himself being surrounded by his classmates to either congratulate or even damn him. Midoriya, that was an excellent show you did back there, said Tenya. Yeah, you've gotten so strong with your maidens recently, said Ochako. I've got to admit, you've clearly have exceeded my expectations when I started my day, knowing you and your maiden's power. If I'm blunt, I consider us to be rivals from this moment on, said Todoroki. Okay, noob. You may have gotten lucky so far by running around. But next round, don't think about hiding from our final confrontation, 'cause your dead meat is mine. Get it, Bakugo said angrily, as he had to be held back by Kirishima. Midoriya, came the voice of Shinsho, as this got his whole class to clam up and give the true dark horse of this school festival their attention. Like your friend, the explosive orange baby was saying, said Shinsho. Hey, I'm an explosive orange adult you know name, side character bastard, said Bakugo. Don't expect to hide from me, 'cause next round we'll be facing off. And I'll finally prove everyone here at this school that I'm better than all the top students of class 1, said Shinsho. The hell you talking about, demanded Bakugo. Need I remind you that I managed to steal both your headband and Todoroki's? But I guess you're right. All that means nothing till we truly face off come next round. And believe me when I say that I'll be after you 3 inches, said Shinsho. I've said my piece. Now I'll be on my way, said Shinsho, as he finally departed from the group. Midoriya, this goes without saying. But be careful when facing off against Shinsho. He's no any ordinary student from general studies. He's definitely got a powerful and quite villainous perk, said Tenya. Yeah, Dark Shadow told me how you guys were under his control, said Midoriya. Yes, indeed true. Frankly speaking, it still baffles me as to how he was able to catch us all off guard, said Tokoyami. Well, I guess it's a good thing that the noob has the pleasure of tangoing with that lazy-eyed bastard next round. So do us a favor and try to figure out how he uses his quirk before he beats you with it, noob, said Bakugo. Wow, you really know how to give a friendly pep talk, said Kirishima. Shut up, you red-haired bastard, said Bakugo, as the class continued to act like their normal selves, as they all readied to face the final round to the sports festival.